Chapter 466. Reality proved that it was easier to get things done with connections. Under the guidance of a few powerful demons, the North County demons quickly became demons and became citizens of the Great Zhou. However, other than the North County, Li Mu did not have such connections in other places. Of the 36 counties in the Great Zhou, only the North County responded to the Imperial Court's call. It was far from enough. Li Mu gathered the Green Bull Demon, Tiger Demon, Rat Demon, and the other demons and asked, "Do you have any relatives or friends in other counties? It's best if you know them well and have good natures." The demons all shook their heads. They were all born and raised in the North County and did not know any foreign demons. The Tiger King thought for a while and suddenly said, "My aunt married to Yunzhong County decades ago. I have a cousin in Yunzhong County, but I haven't contacted him for a few years." Li Mu asked, "What's his cultivation level?" The Tiger King said, "He condensed a demon core 3 years ago. He should be in the 4th realm now." Li Mu clapped his hands. "He's the one then." Yunzhong County was not far from the North County. The Tiger King sent his subordinates to Yunzhong County to invite his cousin, whom he had not seen for many years, to celebrate with him. The two brothers had not seen each other for a few years and their relationship had faded a lot. However, when he heard that his cousin had advanced to the Demon King realm, Hu Chong still brought enough congratulatory gifts and came personally. In the Great Zhou, as long as a Demon King of the 5th realm did not act arrogantly near the divine capital, he could do whatever he wanted. He had a Demon King cousin in the North County. When the other demons in Yunzhong County saw him, they had to give him some face. He had to use this opportunity to get in touch with his cousin again. In the mountains of the North County, Hu Chong rode on a fierce tiger. He patted the head of the tiger under him and asked, "Have we arrived?" The tiger opened its mouth and said, "Your Majesty, we're almost there." The tiger ran for 15 minutes in the forest and finally arrived at a mountain. 2 transformed demons stood at the intersection and stopped them. They asked, "Who are you? Tell me your name." The tiger said, "The king on my back is the Tiger King's cousin. Hurry up and let us in." After the 2 shape-shifting monsters checked the invitation, they immediately stepped aside. Hu Chong got off the tiger and walked into a tall gate. The gate had the words, "North County Demon Division," carved on it. The gate was 10 meters tall and had all sorts of mysterious runes carved on it. Hu Chong felt dizzy after looking at it for a while. He quickly looked away and did not dare to look anymore. Hu Chong stepped into the gatehouse and took another step forward. Then he stopped. The air here was filled with dense spirit qi, which was many times denser than the spirit qi in his cave abode in Yunzhong County. He took a deep breath and coughed due to the impact of the spiritual aura. Hu Chong's eyes lit up. If he could cultivate in such a place, wouldn't his cultivation soar? Bathing in such dense spiritual energy, he would be able to advance to the 5th realm in another 10 years. "Ha ha ha, cousin, long time no see." A hearty laugh came from the front. Hu Chong looked over and a smile appeared on his face. He quickly walked over and said, "Congratulations on advancing to the Archfiend realm, cousin." The Tiger King put his arm around his shoulder and said, "Let's go. Let's have a good drink today." Hu Chong followed the Tiger King for a few steps and saw a magnificent house in front of him. If he was not in the mountains, he would have thought that he was in a human town. As Hu Chong walked, he asked, "Cousin, what's going on?" The Tiger King laughed and said, "Your cousin is now the North County Demon Commander of the Great Zhou. I'm in charge of the demons in the North County. Of course, I can't live as casually as before." Hu Chong was shocked and asked, "Cousin, have you submitted to the Imperial Court?" The Tiger King said unhappily, "Submit? What do you mean submit? I'm in charge of the demons, protect them, and work for them. How can that be considered submitting?" "Don't call me that." Hu Chong said a few words and asked expectantly, "Cousin, can I come here to cultivate in the future?" The Tiger King said, "You're doing well in Yunzhong County. What are you doing here?" Hu Chong said honestly, "The spiritual qi here is much more abundant than in my cave abode. It's faster to cultivate here." The Tiger King glanced at him and said, "Look at you. It's just a spirit gathering array. When the time comes, I'll get someone to set one up for you." Hu Chong quickly said, "No need, no need. I'll just cultivate with you." He was not stupid. Without strength, what was the use of a spirit gathering array? In the Great Zhou, the blessed grotto heavens with abundant spiritual chi were all occupied by humans. Some of the inferior cave abodes that human cultivators looked down on were also occupied by demon cultivators. He was just a small demon of the fourth realm. If he cultivated in such a place with abundant spiritual chi, it would not be long before a stronger human or demon took over his cave abode. They would use his tiger skin as a blanket and cut off his penis to make wine. To them, possessing treasures that did not match their strength was akin to wishing for an early death. The Tiger King led him into the house that he had just built and said, "Actually, I've asked you to come here for an important matter. You should know that the Imperial Court is planning to establish a demon division in each county to manage the demon race. There are no suitable candidates in Yunzhong County for the time being. Do you want to be the demon commander of the demon division in Yunzhong County?" Hu Chong was stunned for a moment and then shook his head repeatedly. It was common knowledge among the demon race that humans could not be trusted. If he became a lackey of the human Imperial Court, not only would he be in danger, he would also be ridiculed by all the demon race. Hu Li did not force him and said, "Since you're not willing, then forget it." He took out a flying sword and a few bottles of elixirs and placed them on the table. Hu Chong's tiger eyes sparkled. The flying sword had a strong spiritual chi. At first glance, he could tell that it was not an ordinary magical weapon. It was much better than his own weapon. The spiritual chi on the surface of these bottles of elixirs made him restless. He looked at the Tiger King and was excited. Did his cousin give him all these? The Tiger King said, "You're more familiar with Yunzhong County than I am. Take these things. When you return to Yunzhong County, help me ask if there are any core condensation demons who are willing to be the demon commander of Yunzhong County. Then give these things to them. This sword is a product of the North Sect. These elixirs can increase their spiritual chi. When they have enough spiritual chi, the Imperial Court will give them a realm-breaking pill to help them break through to the fifth realm. The Imperial Court plans to let all the demon commanders reach the fifth realm within 3 years." Hu Chong took a deep breath and put away these things. He said seriously, "Don't worry, cousin. I'll help you pass on the message." He stayed for a night and left early the next morning. 3 days later, he sent someone to report that there were no monsters in the Yunzhong Commandery who were willing to be the demon medallion. However, in order to live up to his cousin's trust, he was willing to take up the responsibility of the demon medallion. He would unite the monsters in the Yunzhong Commandery and cooperate with the Imperial Court to do his part in building a civilized, harmonious, free and equal Great Zhou. In the North County Demon Division, Li Mu stared at the cauldron in front of him. Refining elixirs was more difficult than writing talismans. He had to control the flame and the precious elixirs in the cauldron. Every time he sweated, Enchanting would take out a handkerchief and gently wipe it for him. It was very difficult to gain something without risking anything. The reason why the North County was so successful was because of the White Demon King. If he wanted to rope in demons from other places, it was the same as rogue cultivators. He had to give them enough benefits to move them. A relationship of interest was the most intimate relationship. Compared to humans, demons had too few resources. Their grotto heavens and blessed lands were all occupied by humans. They could only cultivate in barren hills and unruly rivers with thin spirit chi. Humans had spirit jades and pills for cultivation, but demons could only rely on the spirit chi floating in the air. In the demon clan's heavenly book, there were many elixirs for demons to increase their cultivation. Li Mu doesn't have any high-level elixirs in his hand, but it's more than enough for him to concoct some elixirs that are suitable for core condensation monsters. It was difficult for demons to cultivate, and it wasn't easy for them to take shortcuts. Not many demons could resist the temptation of elixirs. Li Mu had already asked Green Ox and Tiger King to use all their connections to invite the demons from the neighboring counties to come here and observe. They could make their own choices. The effect of this was very obvious. The spiritual chi was much thicker than their cultivation cauldrons, and the treatment of the North County Demon Division's officials made the demons envious. What made them unable to control themselves was the Imperial Court's promise to raise all demon tokens to the fifth realm within 3 years. This was definitely a great opportunity to reach the heavens in one step. If they cultivated by themselves, it would take at least a few years to reach the fifth realm from the fourth realm. They might not even be able to cross that hurdle in their lifetime. If they missed this opportunity, it might become their lifelong regret. Green Ox and Tiger Demon had already proven this point. A few months ago, the two demons' strength was clearly similar to theirs. In just a few months, The gap between them was like heaven and earth. Immediately, the demons of 4 counties expressed their willingness to cooperate with the imperial court to establish a demon division to manage the demons of the counties. After sending off the demons of the counties, Green Ox heaved a sigh of relief and said, "Only Jiujiang County is left." This time, they invited a total of 5 counties' demons. Only Jiujiang County had not responded. Not only that, but the 2 demons sent by Green Ox and Tiger King had also not returned. Li Mu asked, "What powerful demons are there in Jiujiang County?" Tiger King said, "Jiujiang County has the Black Bear tribe. They rule over the demons of Jiujiang County. The Black Bear King reached the 5th realm a long time ago and is on par with Big Brother. A few of his bear cubs are also at the 4th realm. It's one of the stronger counties of the demon race." Green Ox Demon asked, "Should I go take a look?" Li Mu said, "Let me go." Jiujiang County was adjacent to the demon country and did not have any orthodox sects overseeing it. It was not an exaggeration to say that it was the most chaotic county in the Great Show. The demons there were even more unscrupulous. Compared to the North County, it was more important to restrain the demons of Jiujiang County. Accompanied by Xin, Li Mu personally flew to the territory of the Black Bear tribe in Jiujiang County. On the flying boat, Xin said doubtfully, "The demon kings of the nearby counties all know each other. Back then, Father brought me and Xin to the Black Bear tribe. Although the Black Bear King looks fierce, he's actually a reasonable demon king. He usually restrains his subordinates and does not let them harm humans. Logically speaking, he should agree to this matter that benefits both humans and demons." Regardless of whether he was a reasonable bear or not, incorporating the demons was the imperial court's policy. It would not change for anyone. The demons of the counties could choose not to cooperate with the imperial court and not be registered as demons. However, if anyone dared to openly oppose the imperial court, they would not have a good ending. The 2 flew for more than 2 hours and entered the territory of Jiujiang County. Xin pointed at a mountain in front and said, "It's there. That's the cave of the Black Bear tribe." Li Mu and she landed on a mountain. Xin said doubtfully, "That's strange. There should be bear demons guarding this place. Where did they go?" Li Mu sensed and discovered a few powerful demon auras in the distance. He said in a low voice, "Don't speak. Follow me." Black Bear Ridge. To the people of Jiujiang County, this name was perhaps unfamiliar. Jiujiang County had many mountains and many demons in the mountains. The people usually did not go deep into the mountains. Even the boldest woodcutter only moved about halfway up the mountain. However, to the demons of Jiujiang County, there was not a single demon that did not know about Black Bear Ridge. That was the territory of the Bear Demon Clan. The leader of the Bear Demon Clan was a level 5 bear demon. He was one of the few demon clan experts in the Jiujiang County. Other demon clans did not dare to provoke the Bear Demon Clan. However, at this moment, the bear demons that dominated Jiujiang County were in an extremely miserable state. A few bear demons that had yet to take human form were tied to trees. They were being whipped until their skin and flesh were lacerated. They kept howling. The bear demons that had taken human form and condensed their golden core were enraged. They wanted to save them, but they were also in danger. Under the attacks of the other figures, they could not fight back at all. The only 5th realm bear demon was trapped in a huge barrier of light and could not escape. A handsome man looked at the bear demon within the light barrier and said with a smile, "How about it? Agree to our conditions and I'll immediately release your subordinates. If you still refuse to come to your senses, I'll kill a black bear every 15 minutes and chop off its paws." The bear demon said angrily, "I have no intention of becoming your enemy, nor will I submit to the Great Show Court. Why must you force me?" The handsome man shook his head. "In our eyes, if you're not a friend, you're an enemy. You've already wasted some time. Once we're done with their paws, it'll be your turn." The bear demon growled, "The Great Show Court will not let you go." The handsome man looked at him with a hint of killing intent. He said calmly, "I hate it when people threaten me with the human court. It seems like you've already made your choice." He looked at the person beside him and said, "Do it." That person pulled out his long saber and walked towards the bear demons tied to the tree. "There's something to go with tonight's wine." He looked at a bear demon and licked his lips. The long saber in his hand chopped down without hesitation. Thud. Soon, the sound of something heavy falling to the ground could be heard. The saber in that person's hand fell to the ground. He also fell head first, foaming at the mouth. A faint green color appeared on his face. Thud, thud. People around them began to fall to the ground. In the blink of an eye, only 3 people were left standing. A barrier of light suddenly appeared around the handsome man, blocking a poisonous arrow that was aimed at his throat. The other 2 figures also blocked the poisonous arrow. They flew behind the handsome man and vigilantly observed their surroundings. The handsome man looked at his subordinates who had fallen to the ground. His expression was gloomy. He shouted, "Who dares to stab us in the back? Come out if you dare." 2 figures walked out from behind a large tree in front of them. They were a man and a woman. Both of them were young and handsome. The young man looked at the handsome man and said calmly, "So it's you, the fox, who's playing tricks?" The handsome man stared at him and asked, "Who are you?" Li Mu was too lazy to talk nonsense with him. He waved his hand and a golden light shot out, binding the 3 people tightly. The immortal binding lock was the most practical of all the treasures the Empress gave him. It was so fast that ordinary 5th realm cultivators would not be able to react to it. They would be bound in an instant. Incorporating the demon race was beneficial to the imperial court. As expected, the demon sect would not just stand by and do nothing. However, he did not know who ordered this fox from the Meizong sect. Phantom Princess's subordinates would not do such a thing. Li Mu walked in front of the trapped 5th realm bear demon. He slammed his palm, and the golden light barrier shattered. The bear demon was freed. He bowed to Li Mu and said respectfully, "Thank you for saving me," Li Mu said. "No need to thank me. Whether human or demon, they are all citizens of the Great Zhou. Protecting the citizens of the Great Zhou is the duty of the Consecration Department." The bear demon's eyes flashed. He bowed to Li Mu again and went to rescue his trapped subordinates. The 3 5th realm cultivators, including the handsome man, did not expect to be captured by the young man in front of them. They could not use their magic power and were extremely shocked. At this moment, 3 powerful auras were approaching rapidly from afar. Feeling the 3 auras, Li Mu's expression changed but quickly returned to normal. The 3 demons that were bound by the immortal binding chains were overjoyed. They shouted, "Lord Phantom Princess, save us!" The 3 figures arrived in an instant. 2 demons and 1 ghost landed in front of Li Mu. Li Mu looked at Phantom Princess, Hu Jiu and Hu Lu. He said, "3 foxes, we meet again." Phantom Princess looked at the 3 tied-up people and said, "Give them to me." Li Mu asked, "Do you know what they did?" Phantom Princess said, "I did not give them such an order. I will bring them back and deal with them." Li Mu thought for a while and said, "The Imperial Court owes you a lot. I can give you face and give them to you. However, I will destroy their cultivation as punishment." The 3 demons said in fear, "Lord Phantom Princess, no!" A trace of hesitation appeared in Phantom Princess's eyes. Seeing the tragic state of the bear demon, she finally nodded. Li Mu's fingers were like lightning. He pointed at each of the 3 demons. The auras of the 3 demons immediately withered. Most of the spiritual power in their bodies dissipated. They could only barely maintain their human forms. Li Mu took back the immortal binding chains. Phantom Princess waved her hand and the 3 demons were taken into the flask heaven space. She looked up at Li Mu again and said with a complicated expression, "I didn't expect you to really do it." Li Mu said, "I'm a real man, I'll keep my word." Phantom Princess thought for a moment and said, "If what you said is true, Meizong will not go against the Great Zhou court in the future." She did not say anything more. She looked back at Hu Lu and Hu Jiu and whispered, "Let's go." Hu Jiu looked at Xian beside Li Mu and said, "I was right. You really like to play with snakes. Li Mu, you can reconsider what I said last time. We also have snake demons in Thousand Fox Country. They are twin sisters. I promise you they won't let you down." Chapter 467. Li Mu once again rejected Hu Jiu's temptation mercilessly. Huan Ji and the other 2 took the people of Meizong sect and flew towards Chenhu country. On the way, Hu Jiu was still confused. She murmured, "Who ordered these guys to do this?" Huan Ji was thinking. At a certain moment, she suddenly stopped and her expression changed. She immediately said, "Let's go back." Li Mu gave the bear monster some healing pills. Just as he was about to ask if he was willing to be the demon commander of Jiujiang County, Huan Ji and the other two suddenly returned. Huan Ji stared at the sword in Enexian's hand and asked, "Where did you get your sword?" Hu Jiu finally realized something and exclaimed, "Little Snake's sword." Li Mu glanced at Enexian. Although he looked calm, he was actually panicking. At this moment, he was only one step away from true social death. Enexian's sword was given to her by him, and this sword was originally given to him by Huan Ji. It should have been destroyed by Little Snake's self-destruction. It shouldn't be in Enexian's hands. Li Mu's mind raced as he quickly came up with an excuse. He said indifferently, "I found this sword in the Jiujiang Commandery Prince's mansion. No matter who it belonged to before, it belongs to me now. Don't even think about taking it back." That night, the Jiujiang County King was also there. After Little Snake died, it was reasonable for him to take the sword away. Li Mu rejoiced that he thought of this wonderful reason at the last minute. Huan Ji obviously didn't suspect too much. She said softly, "This sword used to belong to one of my subordinates." Li Mu glanced at her and asked, "Do you plan to take it back?" Huan Ji said lightly, "No need." She glanced at the sword and left again. Hu Jiu followed her and asked hesitantly, "Lord Huan Ji, that's Little Snake's relic. Do we really not want to take it back?" Huan Ji took a deep breath and said, "Little Snake is already dead. There's no point in taking back the sword." Hu Jiu sighed and said, "That's right. I don't want to think of Little Snake every time I see the sword." At Black Bear Ridge, Bai Xin looked at the snake-shaped sword in her hand. She instinctively felt that there was some secret between Li Mu, the fox demon, and this sword. She tilted her head and asked Li Mu, "Brother Li, who is Little Snake?" Li Mu shook his head and said, "I don't know, not familiar." Bai Xin looked meaningfully at the sword in her hand and didn't ask any more questions. Li Mu heaved a sigh of relief. At this moment, the level 5 black bear spirit had already walked over. He clasped his fists and said, "Thank you, Lord Li, for saving us. Thank you, Lord Li, for killing Jiujiang Commandery Prince Xiao Hang and returning peace to the demons of Jiujiang Commandery." Li Mu said, "Bear King is too polite. Great Zhou is not a place for these evil cultivators to run amok." The black bear spirit took the initiative to ask, "Sir, you came here to establish the Jiujiang County Demon Department, right?" Li Mu nodded and said, "The Demon Department of a commandery needs a demon king who can intimidate the demons. Is Bear King willing to take on this responsibility?" The black bear spirit did not hesitate and said, "I am willing." He knew very well that he had to choose between the demon sect and the imperial court. At this point, it was impossible for him to stay out of trouble and not offend both sides. He could choose to agree or remain neutral from the imperial court. However, if he did not follow the demon sect, he would definitely be killed by the demon sect. Rather than that, he would rather rely on the imperial court and obtain their protection. They were demons born and raised in the Great Zhou. They had a certain sense of belonging to the Great Zhou. However, humans had always adhered to the idea that those who were not of the same race must have different intentions. They had never accepted the demons. The demons of the Great Zhou had been waiting for this day for thousands of years. After establishing the Jiujiang County Demon Department, the northwestern commanderies had been settled. The remaining commanderies could be handed over to the Consecration Department. The two high consecrators would personally lead the charge to convince the demons through reason and slowly push forward. To prevent the same thing from happening again, Li Mu set up an offensive and defensive formation in the Bear Demon Cave in the Black Bear Ridge. With the Black Bear King's cultivation, unless a 6th realm cultivator attacked, it would be difficult for anyone below the 6th realm to break through. As for the Demon Nation and the Demon Sect, if cultivators above the 6th realm appeared openly in the Great Zhou and attacked the demons and civilians of the Great Zhou, it would be tantamount to declaring war on the Great Zhou. The last Nether Saint to do this was already gone. As long as a 6th realm cultivator did not appear, this formation could ensure the safety of the Bear Demon tribe. After returning from Jiujiang County, Li Mu prepared to return to the Immortals' capital. If he had to deal with every commanderies in the Great Zhou personally, then what was the point of having so many consecrators? The annual salary that the imperial court gave to the consecration department was better given to him alone. Li Mu brought Xin and was already on the flying boat back to the Immortals' capital. In the Thousand Fox Nation, Phantom Princess looked at Bai Xian and questioned, Why did you make such a decision without the approval of the elders? Bai Xian glanced at her and said calmly, the Great Zhou Court wants to establish the demon department in the commanderies and divide the demons. They have ulterior motives. How can we let them do as they wish? What's wrong with me asking them to destroy the Great Zhou Court's plan? Phantom Princess's lips moved, but she was speechless for a moment. Bai Xian looked at her meaningfully and said, Junior sister, don't forget your identity and the responsibility of the Meizong sect. Don't think that I don't know. In Zhejiang County, you flirted with Li Mu in the Great Zhou and watched Li Mu destroy our people's cultivation. I won't report this to the sage sect for now. I hope you can take care of yourself. Hu Jiao said angrily, what do you mean watch? Do you know how strong Li Mu is? Even if we worked together, we were no match for him. Only Lord Phantom Princess could bring them back and spare their lives. Otherwise, their heads would have been chopped off by the Great Zhou Court. You wouldn't even be able to see them. Bai Xian's face darkened and he said coldly, is this the place for you to interrupt? Hu Jiao snorted and said, you? I wouldn't interrupt even if you asked me to. Disgusting, Phantom Princess said. Hu Jiao, leave first. Although Hu Jiao looked angry, she still left. Only Phantom Princess and Bai Xian were left. Bai Xian's face softened a little. He looked at Phantom Princess and said, Junior sister, you know how I feel about you. In these years, you disobeyed the sage sect's orders many times. I helped you hide it. Including this time, I won't tell the sage sect. But I need you to give me a response. Phantom Princess sighed and shook her head. Sorry. Senior brother Bai. I don't have any romantic feelings for you. Bai Xian looked disappointed and said, I'm being sentimental. After he finished speaking, his expression returned to normal, and he turned around to leave. Bai Xian returned to the palace and saw a young man sitting in his seat. Behind the young man were 3 old men. The 3 old men gave Bai Xian the feeling that they were ordinary people. But the 3 black lotuses embroidered on their chests made Bai Xian's pupils shrink. In the sage sect, 3 black lotuses represented elders of the 7th realm. Shendu. The consecration department had already made steady progress in the demon division. The 36 demon divisions were directly under the consecration department and were not under the jurisdiction of the imperial court. The local government of each county had no right to mobilize the demon division. Even Li Mu didn't believe in the imperial court, let alone the demon clan. During the time of the previous emperor, the imperial court had done many despicable things and caused a lot of trouble for the empress and Li Mu. Li Mu didn't forget that the demon division was directly under the consecration department, and the consecration department was directly under the empress. This could avoid many problems. This way, the Great Zhou had 2 imperial courts. They didn't affect each other and were both controlled by the empress. Li Mu only did one thing these days, and that was to make pills. From the demon clan's heavenly book, Li Mu obtained a pill formula for the demon clan. From the Pill Cauldron sect's heavenly book, Li Mu obtained the method of making pills. After returning to Chengdu, he applied for some high-grade spiritual herbs from the Empress to make realm-breaking pills. A realm-breaking pill that could help a 4th realm to 5th realm was already a heaven-grade pill and wasn't easy to make. As for a realm-breaking pill that could increase the chances of a 5th realm to 6th realm, it was even at the saint level. Currently, Li Mu didn't consider it. In order to ensure that he wouldn't be disturbed, Li Mu's place of making pills was the secret underground room of Changle Palace. It was also the Empress' place of seclusion. A cauldron of pills was about to be completed. Li Mu's forehead was already covered in sweat, but he couldn't reach out to wipe it away. At this moment, he missed the time when Yin Xin was by his side. Although she couldn't help him much, she could still wipe away his sweat. As Li Mu was thinking about this, a slender white hand reached out from the side and used a handkerchief to wipe away his sweat. Li Mu turned around and saw the Empress's face. He was a little flattered. Your Majesty, Zhou said softly, focus on making pills. Li Mu turned his head back and wholeheartedly began to refine pills. In fact, he had some complaints in his heart just now. He was just a small secretary, but he cared about the Empress's heart. He approved the memorials, did the undercover work, drew the Fulu, and made the pills. Even the donkeys in the production team didn't dare to order him around. But the moment the Empress lowered herself to personally wipe away his sweat, Li Mu felt that it was all worth it. Then, Li Mu couldn't help but despise himself. He was so easily satisfied that he was bought over by small favors. How embarrassing. In front of the Empress, his heart had to be harder. Beside him, Zhou-Yi had already peeled an orange. She took out a piece and said, "Open your mouth." Li Mu opened his mouth, and she slowly put the piece of orange into Li Mu's mouth. This time, Li Mu was really confused. It had only been half a month, and the Empress had changed a lot. Not only did she wipe away his sweat, but she also fed him oranges. She used to be good to him, but she wouldn't lower herself to do something like serving others. Li Mu swallowed the piece of tangerine with trepidation. After refining this cauldron of pills, when he returned home, he secretly gave Lord May a look. Walking out of the palace, Li Mu slowed down. Mr. May came from behind and asked, "What's the matter?" Li Mu was confused. "Did Her Majesty do anything strange when I wasn't here?" Mr. May said unhappily, "What strange things could Her Majesty do? If not, then forget it." Li Mu shook his head and went home on his own. Mr. May glanced at him, turned around and complained, "Strange?" Then her expression froze. Strictly speaking, Her Majesty did seem a bit strange when Li Mu wasn't here. For example, she went to Li Mu's house more often than when Li Mu wasn't here. And she didn't go to see Wan Wan and Xiao Bai. Instead, she spent more time with the little green snake. When did Her Majesty become so familiar with the little green snake? When Li Mu returned home, he was welcomed by 4 beautiful girls. Wan Wan, Xiao Bai, and Yin Xin were fine, but Ting Xin was really clingy. As long as Li Mu was in his house, she would think of ways to pester him. Sometimes she would ask him questions about cultivation, and sometimes she would ask him to teach her supernatural powers. The key was that she couldn't learn it in one try. Li Mu often had to teach her 10 or even dozens of times. In the process, a lot of physical contact was unavoidable. Even though Li Mu was already very careful, he couldn't avoid her rubbing here and there. Teaching her supernatural powers was more torturous than refining pills and writing talismans. Li Mu had no choice but to teach Yin Xin first, and then let Yin Xin teach her. In the room, Bai Ting Xin pouted and said unhappily, "He's deliberately avoiding me." Bai Yin Xin glanced at her and said unhappily, "Who told you to always be so unruly?" Bai Ting Xin said, "Happiness is fought for by oneself. I have to work hard for my own happiness." Bai Yin Xin shrugged and said, "Then you slowly fight for it. I'm going to sleep." Bai Ting Xin walked out of the room and stood at the door. Her eyes were rolling around. Suddenly, a light flashed in her eyes, and a plan came to her mind. In Li Mu's room, he was planning to rest. Before going to sleep, he had just chanted the clear heart chant twice. There was a restless snake at home that was thinking of ways to provoke him every day. After having nightmares for 3 consecutive days, he didn't dare to sleep without chanting the clear heart chant a few times before going to sleep. Suddenly, there was a knock on the door. Li Mu got out of bed and opened the door. He saw Lu Hanyan standing outside. He was stunned for a moment, and then he said in surprise, "You're back." Lu Hanyan threw herself into his arms. Li Mu wanted to hug her, but he suddenly lowered his head and looked at her slender legs wrapped around his waist. Lu Hanyan was still somewhat reserved. She had never done such a thing to Li Mu. Moreover, to be honest, although her legs were also very long, they were not so slender. After carefully feeling it, Li Mu felt the difference. This little snake was getting more and more overboard. She had only learned the basics of the alien transformation technique, and she dared to show off in front of him. If he didn't teach her an unforgettable lesson this time, he didn't know what she would do in the future. Li Mu didn't expose her immediately. He smiled and said, "Come in." Lu Hanyan smiled and followed him into the room. Li Mu closed the door of the room and set up a soundproof barrier. Soon, Bai Ting Xin's scream came from the room, but it was blocked in the room by the barrier. A moment later, in Bai Yin Xin's room, looking at her sister lying on her bed with teary eyes, Bai Yin Xin sighed helplessly. She lifted up her sister's skirt and took off her white underwear. Then she ground the healing pill into powder and carefully applied it on her sister's wound. Bai Ting Xin grimaced in pain and gritted her teeth. "I won't admit defeat." Last night, Li Mu had taught the disobedient green snake an unforgettable lesson. Presumably, she wouldn't dare to be impudent in the near future. The next morning, he went to the palace without eating breakfast. In Changle Palace, he saw Lady Ju, whom he hadn't seen in a long time. Lady Ju, who was dressed in black, had a very solemn expression. Mr. Mei and Shangguan Li also had solemn expressions. Li Mu looked at them and asked in puzzlement, "What happened?" Lady Ju said in a deep voice, "The Yao nation has suddenly undergone a huge change. The Tianlang kingdom has announced that it has joined the demon sect and has annihilated and annexed several nearby Yao nations. The Thousand Fox Nation's Meizong sect is in internal strife and the Meizong sect is under the control of the Bai royal family. The great elder of the Sixth Realm has been imprisoned and the fate of the Seventh Realm's 10,000 Illusions monarch is unknown." Chapter 468. Lady Ju's words shocked Li Mu so much that he couldn't regain his senses for a long time. He had stayed in the Yao nation for a long time and knew the situation of the demon race. The celestial wolf race was the leader of the 4 major demon races in the demon nation. Their overall strength was stronger than the Thousand Fox Nation with the Heaven Lord of Illusions. They had always been the enemy of the Thousand Fox Nation and the Meizong sect. The Heaven Lord of Illusions was a 7th realm elder of the demon sect and had a pivotal position in the demon sect. Now the Celestial Wolf Kingdom had defected to the demon sect, the Meizong sect was in internal strife, the Grand Elder was imprisoned, and even the Heaven Lord of Illusions of the 7th realm was unknown. How could Li Mu believe this? The Empress was only at the 7th realm and wasn't much stronger than the Heaven Lord of Illusions. Li Mu couldn't imagine what kind of existence could almost kill a 7th realm cultivator. A battle between 2 7th realm cultivators could destroy the entire Thousand Fox Nation. Li Mu's first reaction was disbelief. He asked in a low voice, "Is the news true?" Lady Ju said solemnly, "It's true. Many of our spies in the Yao nation have sent back urgent reports. Even we don't know why the demon sect would have internal strife and attack their own 7th realm cultivator. It said that 3 7th realm elders of the demon sect took advantage of the critical moment when the Heaven Lord of Illusions was in seclusion to launch a sneak attack on him. The Heaven Lord of Thousand Fox Nation escaped with serious injuries. There was also internal strife in the Meizong sect. The Bai family of the Thousand Fox Nation took advantage of the chaos to imprison Grand Elder Huan Yun and take control of the Meizong sect. Li Mu roughly knew the reason why the demon sect attacked the Heaven Lord of Illusions. Although the Heaven Lord of Illusions was powerful, he often disobeyed the orders of the demon sect. A disobedient 7th realm teammate was even more threatening than a 7th realm enemy. However, he didn't expect the conflict between the Heaven Lord of Illusions and the demon sect to be so serious that the demon sect would send 3 7th realm elders to kill him. A battle between 7th realm cultivators had the power to destroy the world. The 3 7th realm cultivators chose the time when the Heaven Lord of Illusions was in seclusion. Even so, he still managed to escape. Li Mu didn't care if 10,000 Illusions Heaven Monarch was fine or not. He asked Lord Ju, "Where is Phantom Princess from Meizong sect?" Lady Ju said, "When the incident happened, Phantom Princess was not in Thousand Fox Country. However, I believe that the Bai family and the Devil Dao will not let her off." The Crown Prince of Thousand Fox Country, Bai Xian, has now become the King of Thousand Fox Country and the Grand Elder of Meizong sect. After he ascended to the throne, he wantonly placed a bounty on Phantom Princess in the Demon Country. Just providing information about Phantom Princess would be able to obtain a generous reward. This was not out of Li Mu's expectations. The Fox Clan's heavenly book was in Huan Ji's hands. Bai Xian wanted Huan Ji for that page of the heavenly book. Mr. Mei said worriedly, "The Celestial Wolf Clan has already begun to annex the other forces of the Demon Nation with the secret support of the Demon Dao. They probably want to unify the Demon Nation. If the Demon Nation is unified, the northern part of the Great Zhou will face an unprecedented strong enemy." Ever since the fall of the White Emperor, the Demon Nation had been divided for 3,000 years. In these 3,000 years, although the demon race had always been the greatest enemy of the ancestral province's humans, the divided demon race only dared to invade the borders in a small area. They did not dare and did not have the ability to invade on a large scale. However, if the Demon Nation was unified by the Celestial Wolf Clan, the situation would be different. With the support of the Demon Dao, a unified Demon Nation would become the Great Zhou's greatest threat. The northwestern border would never be peaceful. More importantly, once the Demon Nation invaded, the Ghost Realm and the southern countries would definitely take advantage of the situation to invade. The centuries-old foundation of the Great Zhou would be in jeopardy. After this news was spread, the imperial court was in chaos. Under the auspices of the Minister of War, the head of the Secretariat, and the palace attendants, an impromptu court meeting was held in the Crepe Myrtle Hall. Officials of the fairies' capitals rank 4 and above were not allowed to be absent for any reason. Today, there were no old party members or new party members in the Crepe Myrtle Hall. Everyone only had one identity, and that was the Great Show's officials. The Demon Nation situation had changed drastically, and the Great Show Court had to come up with corresponding countermeasures. In the Crepe Myrtle Hall, King Ping said in a deep voice, "The Demon Nation must not be unified. Otherwise, the Great Show will be in danger. I suggest that the Imperial Court immediately send troops to the Demon Nation to suppress the Celestial Wolf Clan and prevent future troubles." In the Imperial Court, the new party had always liked to attack the old party. However, this time, they maintained a rare silence. This cannot be done. While everyone was silent, the left assistant minister of the Ministry of War stood up and said, "The Great Show has never participated in the internal affairs of other countries. There is no righteous reason to send troops to the Demon Nation. Moreover, the Demon Nation's terrain is complicated and difficult to supply. Fighting in the Demon Nation is disadvantageous to our soldiers, and we will easily fall into a passive situation." The civil and military officials had different opinions on this matter. The civil officials believed that the Demon Nation had always had ulterior motives. Once it was unified, it would definitely attack the Great Show. The Great Show could not sit back and watch the Demon Nation grow stronger. The military officials analyzed the drawbacks of sending troops to the Demon Nation from the perspective of starting a war. Strictly speaking, this would be interfering in the Demon Nation's internal affairs. It would not be legitimate. More importantly, the Demon Nation and the Ghost Realm had a similar characteristic for thousands of years. No matter how hard they fought and how ferocious they were, once the human race tried to take advantage of the situation, they would immediately join forces. If the Imperial Court sent troops to the Celestial Wolf Clan, it would most likely have the opposite effect. It would cause the Demon Nation to be unified even faster. At that time, the Great Show's soldiers would have to fight in an away place and would have difficulties in supplies. They would also have to face an unprecedentedly united Demon Nation. It would be almost impossible for them to win. However, it was not as if no one had come up with a solution. Which of the people standing in the Imperial Court was not a sly old fox? As long as they did not fight among themselves, there would be plenty of schemes and intrigues when their thoughts collided. The Demon Nation originally had 4 major factions: the Wolf Clan, the Bear Clan, the Snake Clan, and the Fox Clan. These 4 major demon clans all had 7th Realm Shen demons overseeing them. Although the Celestial Wolf Clan was the strongest, the other 3 clans were not weak either. Now that the Fox Clan was in internal strife, the Celestial Wolf Clan, with the support of the Demon Dao, had the intention of annexing the other demon clans and unifying the Demon Nation. However, how could the other 2 clans be willing to become the Wolf Clan's vassals? The Demon Clan could support the Celestial Wolf Clan, and the Great Show Court could also secretly support the 9 Heaven Snake Clan and the Tianshan Bear Clan, allowing the demon clans to fight against each other and quell this disaster without expending a single soldier. The problem now was how to persuade the 2 major demon clans. Although they were not convinced by the Celestial Wolf Clan, they obviously would not trust the Imperial Court even more. Who would be willing to take the risk of going to the Demon Nation and complete such an arduous mission? The Purple Myrtle Hall fell into silence again. Some of the officials were cowardly. They could give advice, but they were unwilling to risk their lives and enter the Demon Nation. There were also some officials who knew their own limitations. With their abilities, they were not able to persuade the 2 major demon clans. Instead, they would delay the Imperial Court's important matters. A white-robed figure floated in from outside. When the officials saw the middle-aged man walk into the hall, they all lowered their heads and bowed respectfully. "Greetings, Principal." The middle-aged man stood with his hands behind his back and said softly, "I'll go." There was no one more suitable than the principal of White Deer Academy, the Minister of War of the Great Show, to go on the diplomatic mission to the 2 major demon clans. He had the qualifications and the strength to do so. All the officials in the hall placed their hopes on him. Several days later, the principal of White Deer Academy returned to the divine capital. What he brought back was not good news. The 9 Heaven Snake Clan and the Tianshan Bear Clan had rejected the Great Zhou Court and clearly stated that they would not cooperate with the humans. This result caused the Imperial Court to become nervous again. This nervousness even spread to the common people. Changle Palace. Zhou Yi was no longer in the mood to read. Although she was not willing to be the emperor, since she was in this position, she had to be responsible for the people of the Great Zhou. Otherwise, she would have left the divine capital with Li Mu long ago and gone to a place where no one could find her to grow flowers and vegetables. Li Mu sat at the side and looked at her frowning appearance. He sighed softly in his heart. In fact, if it was anyone else, this matter would be a dead end. The two major demon clans refused to cooperate. She could not send troops, and she could not watch the demon nation be unified. She definitely did not know what to do. Li Mu thought for a moment and said, "Your Majesty, since I have nothing to do, why don't I go?" Zhou Yi rolled her eyes at him and said, "What's the use of you going when even Principal Lin can't do anything about it? Just stay by my side obediently. I can't let you take risks for everything." Li Mu said, "Subduing the demon nation is what I promised Your Majesty. Besides, my wife is not by my side, so it's quite boring for me to stay here. I might as well find something to do." Lu Hanyan and Li Qing were far away in the northern commandery. There was also a restless little snake at home, who was thinking of ways to seduce him all day long. Last night, it became Lu Hanyan. Tonight, it might become Li Qing. Li Mu could not afford to offend her, but he could avoid her. More importantly, the Thousand Fox Nation had undergone a great change. He did not know how Hu Jiao and Huan Ji were doing. Li Mu had to admit that although the little snake was dead, he still could not sit back and do nothing about the companions who had fought side by side with him. Zhou Yi looked at Li Mu and said self-deprecatingly, "So it's because you feel bored by my side. You'd rather go to the demon nation than stay here." Chapter 469. Li Mu didn't expect the Empress to look at the problem in such a tricky way. He quickly explained, "Your Majesty, please don't misunderstand. That's not what I meant." "Then what do you mean?" "I don't mean anything. Do you feel that it's meaningless to talk to me?" Li Mu took a deep breath and finally said, "I won't go." A moment later, he left Changle Palace with a helpless expression. In the past 6 months, he had indeed spent more time outside than in Chengdu. The Empress had already seen the resentment in the memorial, but this time, Li Mu had to go to the Yao nation. In fact, he and Phantom Princess had the same dream, which was that humans and demons could coexist peacefully. She ended up like this largely because she didn't want to hurt innocent humans and angered the higher-ups of the demonic path. For the Great Zhou, he couldn't sit by and watch the Yao nation unite. For Little Snake, he couldn't watch anything happen to Phantom Princess and Hu Jiao. The Empress' anger was temporary. She would agree if he coaxed her later. In Changle Palace, Zhou Yi sat on the dragon throne. After a long silence, she asked Mr. Mei and Shangguan Li, "Am I being unreasonable?" Shangguan Li lowered her head and didn't answer. Mr. Mei glanced at Shangguan Li and said helplessly, "Actually, Li Mu is also helping Your Majesty. If the Celestial Wolf tribe unifies the Yao nation, it will be a disaster for the Great Zhou," Zhou Yi said, "but he just came back a few days ago. Recently, he's only been in Chengdu for a few days and gone for a few months." Mr. Mei thought for a moment and said, "Your Majesty, a short separation is for a better reunion. After he calms down the chaos, he'll have time to stay by Your Majesty's side." Zhou Yi sat there and fell into deep thought. Li Mu returned to the Li residence. When he opened the door, he found the Empress was already in the courtyard. Zhou Yi looked at him, took a deep breath and said, "Go. I won't stop you." Li Mu breathed a sigh of relief. The Empress actually knew how to coax herself. If only everyone could be as reasonable as her. Since the Empress had already agreed, Li Mu did not have any more misgivings. Before he left, he made arrangements for Wan Wan and Xiao Bai's cultivation, and assigned tasks to Yin Xin and Ting Xin. In the courtyard, Li Mu hugged Wan Wan and Xiao Bai and gently patted their heads. He said, "Cultivate well at home and wait for me to come back." He walked towards Moaning Heart again, and the girl opened her arms to him. Li Mu didn't want to hug her at first, but she had already posed. If he didn't do anything, how could she get out of the embarrassing situation? The girl only thought about a farewell hug. If he thought too much, it would make him seem like he had a dirty mind. Li Mu hugged her gently and said, "Take your time to comprehend the matrices I taught you. I will check them when I come back." Bai Yin nodded gently and said, "I understand, Brother Li." I will work hard to cultivate. Li Mu finally looked at Bai Tingxin. Wan Wan had hugged him, Xiao Bai had hugged him, and his sister had also hugged him. If he treated her differently, it would be inappropriate. As soon as he opened his arms, Bai Tingxin jumped onto him. She hooked her arms around his neck and wrapped her slender legs around his waist. She promised, "Don't worry, I will cultivate well. You also have to be careful outside. I will wait for you to come back." She clung to Li Mu and was unwilling to come down. Li Mu could take her down by force. A former niece spoke like the mistress of the house. Li Mu even wanted the empress to bring her to the palace to learn the rules. At the very least, he wanted her to learn how to hug and not cling to others. Li Mu had told her many times about this. She insisted that this was the nature of the snake race and could not be changed. Li Mu let out a long sigh of relief. Finally, he looked at the empress and said, "Your Majesty, I will leave now." Zhou naturally stretched out her arms. Li Mu was stunned for a moment. He opened his arms and hugged her gently. The empress's figure was seriously underestimated. Except for Li Mu, no one knew what kind of curves were hidden under her loose clothes. She was not inferior to Lu Hanyan. Wan Wan and Xiao Bai were slightly inferior. Inxin and Tingxin were even more incomparable. After a short hug, Li Mu took a step back. He looked at them again and turned to leave. Until his figure completely disappeared, several figures were still standing at the door. At a certain moment, Zhou Yi asked the green snake beside her, "Don't you like him? Why didn't you leave with him this time?" Bai Tingxin said meaningfully, "As long as two people's hearts are together, why would they care if they can accompany each other every day?" Zhou Yi said, "But your hearts are not together." Bai Tingxin clenched her fists and said firmly, "Sooner or later it will be." Great changes had occurred in the Yao kingdom. The great Zhou court wanted to ally with the Yao to resist the Yao, but they were rejected. They could only find other ways. In recent days, various large and small court meetings had been held. They were all discussions about resisting the Yao race. Another group of students of White Deer Academy had gone to the north. Even the dean had personally gone to Zhejiang County to stand guard there and deal with possible conflicts in the future. The Secretariat, the Assistant Minister of the Secretariat, and the several secretaries of the Secretariat all looked haggard. They had yet to reach a conclusion about the Yao race. They began to miss the days when they had Li Mu. He was in the Secretariat, and they did not have to worry about big or small matters. Unfortunately, in the past half-year, he had rarely participated in the affairs of the Imperial Court. He focused on the affairs of the Consecration Department. The tasks he carried out were all confidential tasks. The Secretariat did not have the authority to know. Lu Yi scratched her hair and said with some annoyance, "Where did Lord Li go?" "In the hinterland of Yingzhou. In a hollow mountain, Chen Shi, Han Shan, Sun Qi, and nearly 100 Corpse sect disciples stood respectfully beside a platform. They said loudly, 'All Corpse sect disciples greet the Great Elder.' Not everyone was willing to work with corpses. Thus, within the 10 demonic Dao sects, there weren't many Corpse sect disciples. This time, in order to refine the 10 demonic Dao corpses, Chen Shi and the others had called back all the Corpse sect disciples. In the middle of the platform, a young man stood with his hands behind his back. He said faintly, "Something happened recently that made me very sad." All the Corpse sect disciples had been hiding in this mountain for the past few months. They did not pay attention to the outside world and focused on refining the sage corpses. They did not know what was happening outside. However, anyone could see that the Great Elder was very angry. The pressure of an expert made them unable to breathe. They could not help but lower their heads. Li Mu was silent for a moment and said again, "There is internal strife in the Meizong sect. The Great Elder, Huan Yun, was seized and imprisoned by a traitor." As soon as he said this, the crowd immediately exclaimed, "How is this possible? Doesn't the Lord of Heaven still exist in the Meizong sect? The Lord of Heaven will not sit by and do nothing." Li Mu stretched out his hand and pressed down. The crowd's voices stopped abruptly. The scene became so quiet that even a pin drop could be heard. Li Mu continued in a deep voice, "When the Lord of Heaven was in seclusion, he was attacked by 3 elders of the Sage sect. He was seriously injured. It is unknown whether he is dead or alive now." His words caused an even greater uproar among the Corpse sect disciples. How is this possible? The Lord of Heaven is at level 7. He can also become an elder in the Sage sect. Why would the Sage sect attack the Lord of Heaven? This doesn't make sense. Fake news, it must be fake news. Li Mu stretched out his hand again, and the crowd's noise immediately disappeared. He snorted and said, "The Meizong sect has made so many contributions to the Sage sect. The Lord of Heaven is loyal to the Sage sect, but he ended up like this. I can't take this lying down." Chen Shi looked hesitant and said slowly, "Great Elder, no matter why the Sage sect attacked the Lord of Heaven, it has nothing to do with us. I think we should not provoke the Sage sect. Otherwise, we may follow in the footsteps of the Lord of Heaven and the Meizong sect." "What nonsense are you talking about?" Li Mu looked gloomy and said, "I am close friends with the Lord of Heaven. How can I watch him be wronged? Since the Sage sect is not benevolent, don't blame the Corpse sect for being unjust. From now on, the Corpse sect will no longer listen to the Sage sect. If you don't accept my decision, you can leave now." Chen Shi's face changed and said immediately, "Great Elder." Li Mu waved his hand and said, "Say no more. I have made up my mind. If you want to leave, go ahead." The hundreds of Corpse sect disciples fell into silence. The Corpse sect was their home. They had everything here, and they could even refine the corpses of the strongest. They were unwilling to leave, but the power of the Sage sect was deeply rooted in their hearts. They did not want to offend them. Many people looked hesitant. In the end, a figure stood out. A man with a thin face said, "I, Su Shichi, will only be loyal to the Sage sect. Since the Great Elder wants to leave the Sage sect, I, Su Shichi, will leave the Corpse sect from today onwards. Please don't blame me." Li Mu asked indifferently, "Anyone else?" After he said that, after a short silence, more than 10 figures stood out. "The Great Elder has lost his mind. I choose to leave the Corpse sect. I will also leave the Corpse sect. Glory sect will not let this go. Think about it carefully." "Very well." Li Mu nodded. He suddenly stretched out his finger and drew a few runes in the air. The runes lit up. He formed a seal with his hands, and the runes turned into more than 10 and shot into the figures of more than 10 people. Plop! More than 10 people fell to the ground at the same time, unconscious. Li Mu glanced at the crowd and asked indifferently, "Who else wants to leave the Corpse sect?" Chapter 470. Inside the mountain, the Corpse sect disciples were silent. Everyone had a premonition that the familiar Great Elder had returned. Before this, although all kinds of evidence showed that the young man in front of them was the Grand Elder's possessed body, his personality was very different from Grand Elder Qian Huan's. The benevolent-looking Grand Elder Qian Huan was actually the most ruthless and cruel. Those who disobeyed him in the Corpse sect had all become real corpses. This young and handsome face gave Su Shichi and the dozen people an illusion. No matter how handsome and kind he was, his soul was still Grand Elder Qian Huan's soul. Su Shichi and the others had forgotten an important thing. There was an unwritten rule in the Corpse sect: obey the Grand Elder, and disobey the Grand Elder's corpse. The Grand Elder's skill just now had completely subdued all the Corpse sect disciples inside the mountain. No one dared to have any objections. If they left the Glory sect, they might be in trouble in the future. If they betrayed the Grand Elder, they had to die now. Who wouldn't want to live a little longer? The Glory sect was just an illusion to them. Their lives were more important now. Chen Shichi gathered his courage and asked softly, "Grand Elder, let's follow the old rules and refine these traitors?" Li Mu waved his hand and said, "No need to waste materials. Lock them up first. They might be useful in the future." Chen Shichi said respectfully, "Yes, Grand Elder." The dozen people were taken away. The remaining disciples stood even more respectfully at the side. Li Mu moved the Corpse sect disciples emotionally and logically. He even gave them the right to choose. The Corpse sect disciples were still determined to be loyal to him and stay in the Corpse sect. Li Mu was very pleased. He dismissed most of the people and asked, "How's the refining of the 10 demon corpses going?" Speaking of this, Chen Shichi and the others showed pride on their faces. They said, "Grand Elder, 8 of the demon corpses have all been successfully refined, and their cultivations have all reached the 6th realm. The 8 demon corpses were all 7th realm great demons when they were alive. The demon race's bodies were extremely strong. After death, Their corpses could reach the sixth realm through a secret technique. If the White Emperor's corpse received the original memories, his own corpse would be able to reach the 8th realm in a short period of time. He would also have 2 7th realm and 8 6th realm subordinates under him. His strength would even surpass the various Dao sections. No one knew where the White Emperor demonic corpse had run off to. Ever since it escaped from the demonic Emperor space, there had been no news of it. If he could capture it and bring it back, Li Mu would refine it even if he had to sell everything he had. It was the corpse of a 9th-tier elite when it was alive, so it had the potential to become an 8th-tier demonic corpse. Li Mu asked again, what about the 2 level 8 demonic corpses? This was what he was most concerned about. They were too powerful when they were alive. If there were no problems during the refinement process, then in principle, after the refinement, their cultivation could reach the 7th level. Speaking of the 2 Yao corpses, Chen Shi said regretfully, reporting to First Elder, refining these 8 Yao corpses has already exhausted all of the corpse sect's accumulated resources. We no longer have the materials to refine these 2 corpses. Li Mu had high hopes for the 2 demon corpses. With 2 7th-tier bodyguards behind him, who would dare to speak loudly to him in the future? Li Mu looked at Chen Shi and said, what other materials do you lack? I will give them to you. Chen Shi counted with his fingers and said, at least 10,000 pieces of spiritual jade, diamond jade, bone-growing grass, and various other body-refining materials, 49 by 7. Li Mu thought of the less than 1,000 pieces of spiritual jade. He had left and waved his hand. If you can't gather them all, then slowly gather them. There's no rush. Li Mu stayed in the corpse sect for 2 days, intending to study these 8 Yao corpses properly. He could not count on the 2 Yao corpses for the time being. Although these 8 corpses had all barely reached the 6th tier and would not be a match for a real 6th-tier elite in a one-on-one fight, there was strength in numbers. The 8 corpses formed the 8 Desolation Corpse Refining Formation, and even a 7th-tier elite would have to avoid it. Only now did Li Mu have some confidence in protecting himself in front of a 7th-tier elite. Chen Huanjun was a genius. He had studied corpses to the extreme in his entire life, and also had high attainments in formations. Li Mu had benefited from his memories until now. Just as Li Mu was studying formations in seclusion, Chen Shi came to report that the Sage sect had sent envoys. Although the corpse sect had become a traitor, they would not be so stupid as to directly fall out with the Sage sect. Chen Shi carefully came to report to Li Mu. Li Mu thought for a while and said, go receive them and see what they want. Chen Shi returned to the belly of the mountain and bowed to a man with a black lotus embroidered on his chest. He asked carefully, may I know the reason for your visit? The man waved his sleeve, and a corpse appeared on the stone platform in the belly of the mountain. He looked at Chen Shi and the others and said calmly, I want you to refine this corpse into a Yao corpse. This Yao was a 7th-tier elite when it was alive. How long will it take for you to refine it into a 6th-tier Yao corpse? If it was a year ago, Chen Shi would have been very excited to see the corpse of such an elite. But now, he had seen bigger scenes. This kind of small scene could no longer cause any ripples in his heart. He pretended to think carefully for a while and said, at least a year, and it will require a lot of spiritual jades and refining materials. The corpse sect cannot gather them all at once. By the time they do, it will probably be 8 to 10 years later. After all, they had already betrayed the demon sect under the leadership of the Grand Elder. He might as well take the opportunity to extort them. The Sage sect envoy frowned and said, 8 to 10 years is too long. What materials do you need? I will bring them to you next time. Chen Shi thought for a long time and said slowly, 20,000 spiritual jades, diamond jade, bone-growing grass, and other body-refining materials. After hearing him, the Sage sect envoy's lips trembled and he said angrily, do you think I am stupid? Isn't it just refining a corpse? It needs 20,000 spiritual jades and 81 precious materials. Chen Shi shrugged and said, if you are not willing to pay these, we can also refine it. However, the strength of the spirit corpse refined this way may only be at the 5th tier. The more spiritual jades and the more materials, the stronger the spirit corpse refined will be. If we can gather these materials, the spirit corpse refined will be at most at the middle stage of the 6th tier, infinitely close to the late stage. The anger on the Sage sect envoy's face gradually dissipated. Thinking carefully, what this person said made sense. How could the quality of something refined without using materials be the same as something refined with a large amount of precious materials? To him, the stronger the spirit corpse, the better. Although these things were not easy to get, he could go back and apply for them. Since he wanted to refine a corpse, he wanted to refine the best one. He quickly made a decision and said, "I will send these things to you within a month." Chen Shi added, "I will write a list for you in a moment. Remember to make 2 copies of the materials. If 1 copy fails, you have to prepare again and waste time. 2 copies is safer." Li Mu stood in a stone room in the mountainside. After a while, Chen Shi came in with a long list in his hand. He asked, "First Elder, is there anything else you need? Write it down. Anyway, there is only 1 chance. It would be a waste if you don't write it down." Li Mu felt that what he said made sense. He did not collect the elixirs needed to refine the breakthrough elixir. Those elixirs did not exist on the Zhu continent. Some were in Xian continent, some were in Yuan continent, some were in Changzhou, and some were in Juku continent and Fenglin continent. If he wanted to collect them, he would have to go to all 10 continents. He picked up the pen and was about to write when he thought about his handwriting. He handed the pen to Chen Shi and said, "I will say." "You write." Since he had worked undercover for Phantom Princess for a few months, he had developed a good habit of paying attention to details. Not long after, on the mountainside platform, the messenger of the sage sect looked at the list that was long enough to drag on the ground. He said in disbelief, "These are all?" Chen Shi nodded seriously and said, "All of them." The messenger of the sage sect pointed to the bottom part and said, "The rest is fine. These elixirs have nothing to do with refining corpses. What do you want them for?" Chen Shi shook his head and said, "Do you know as much about refining corpses as we do? These elixirs seem to have nothing to do with refining corpses, but their medicinal properties can complement each other and increase the success rate of refining corpses." Chen Shi talked for almost an hour and finally convinced the messenger of the sage sect. He left the demon corpse and flew away with a painful face. Chen Shi watched him go and then let out a long sigh of relief. He said with lingering fear, "If he had not left, I would not have been able to make it up anymore." On the mountainside platform, Li Mu looked at the middle-aged man's corpse on the platform. It looked similar to Phantom Princess. His expression was a little complicated. Chapter 471. Li Mu couldn't be more familiar with the middle-aged man lying on the platform. There was a statue of him in Thousand Fox City. Although Li Mu saw the corpse of the Heavenly Lord of Illusions, it didn't mean that he was dead. Hu Jiu could still be alive without a body, and Qian Huan had died countless times. Even if he was surrounded by 3 cultivators of the same level, the chances of a 7th-level cultivator dying were too small. However, to make a 7th-level cultivator leave his body behind and escape with his soul, it was enough to imagine how fierce the battle was. Chen Shi asked, "Grand Elder, this corpse?" Li Mu waved his hand, and the corpse of the Heavenly Lord of Illusions disappeared. He said, "This is the corpse of the Heavenly Lord. I will keep it for the Huan clan. You can focus on refining the 2 corpses." Chen Shi had already guessed the identity of this corpse, but he didn't dare to use it. He bowed and said, "Yes, Grand Elder." Li Mu said, "I still have something to do. You will be in charge of the corpse sect when I'm not here." Chen Shi cupped his fists and said, "I will not disappoint Grand Elder." Li Mu rewarded him with some Fulu treasures and left the corpse sect. Chen Shi accepted the first elder's reward happily. However, he was a little worried. He could hide it for a while, but he couldn't hide it forever. After a year, if he couldn't hand over the refined corpse of the Lord of Heaven, the sage sect would definitely find out. By then, they would have to face more than just a 5th realm Black Lotus emissary. However, even if he died, he had to refine the 2 corpses. If he could use the corpses of 8th-level cultivators to refine corpses, he would have no regrets even if he died. Chen Shi took a deep breath and began to look forward to the return of the sage sect envoy. 100,000 great mountains. 1,000 demon country. Ever since the fall of the demon emperor, the once unified demon clan had fallen apart. The situation of the major forces ruling over a region had lasted for 3,000 years. Now, the entire demon country was going through a change that hadn't happened in the past 3,000 years. In these 3,000 years, The demon country's forces had never stopped changing. Small demon races rose, large demon races fell, and the various forces swallowed each other up. This happened every few years, but the demon country was always able to maintain a balance. Now, this balance had been broken. Under the secret instigation of the demon path, the once hostile Thousand Fox Nation and Tianlang Nation actually joined hands and began to annex the surrounding large and small monster race forces. The balance of power in the monster nation was broken. Some of the smaller monster races were in constant fear, while some of the larger monster races chose to surrender. There were also some that were unwilling to submit to the demon path and chose to stubbornly resist to the end. The eastern part of the Yao Nation had completely fallen into the territory of the Thousand Fox Nation. In the past, Thousand Fox Nation's sphere of influence was limited to Thousand Fox Nation and its surroundings. They didn't care about the demon clans outside their sphere of influence. Now, under the orders of the new monarch of Thousand Fox Country and the Grand Elder of Meizong Sect, Bai Xian, all the experts of Thousand Fox Country and Meizong Sect were out to sweep the mountains in the eastern part of the demon nation and take in the various demon clans. Those who were willing to submit were sent to Thousand Fox Country to accept orders. Those who were unwilling to submit were exterminated and their demon cores and souls were taken. In recent days, some of the smaller demon clans in the demon nation were exterminated. At this moment, the Rabbit Demon Clan of Tianfeng Mountain was facing such a situation. The Rabbit Demon Clan was one of the weakest demon clans in the demon nation. There were only a dozen or so rabbit demons in this clan, and the strongest was only at the 4th realm. Most of them were small demons who had yet to transform. There were many great demons in the demon nation, and they usually didn't dare to show themselves. They could only hide in their cave abodes on Tianfeng Mountain and cultivate silently. On Tianfeng Mountain, a man with an aquiline nose floated in the air. He looked down at the rabbit demons from above and asked calmly, "Have you thought it through?" The transformed rabbit demons looked at each other and shook their heads. If the Rabbit Demon Clan submitted to the Fox Clan, they would have to go to Thousand Fox Country and be ordered around by the Fox Clan. They wouldn't even have the power to decide their own lives. Not a single rabbit had ever walked out of the Thousand Fox Country alive. It was easy to foresee what would happen to them. They would either be used as cannon fodder and die in battles with other demon clans or become food for the Fox Clan. The 4th Realm Rabbit Demon raised his head and said, "Sir, our Rabbit Demon Clan only wants to cultivate here," the aquiline-nosed man said calmly. "So you're not willing to submit?" Beside him, another subordinate said, "Sir, why are you still talking nonsense with them? Take their demon cores and souls. Tonight, we'll have spicy rabbit heads and rabbit stew." A hint of greed flashed across the aquiline-nosed man's eyes. Although he was ordered by his superiors to take in the Rabbit Demon Clan, it wouldn't do him any good even if he did. He might as well take the demon core of the leading rabbit demon. The other transformed rabbit demons could be used as cauldrons to absorb their dermic powers. As for the remaining rabbit demons who hadn't transformed, he could bring them back and stew them. A hint of bloodlust flashed across his sharp eyes. He said sternly, "Since you're not willing to submit, then die." As soon as he said that, his body swooped down from the sky. Against the weakest rabbit demon, he didn't even bother to use weapons. His hands turned into sharp eagle claws, and his nails shone with a cold light. He grabbed at the 4th Realm Rabbit Demon's abdomen. Although the two demons were both 4th Realm, the Eagle Demon's dermic powers were much stronger than the Rabbit Demon's. In terms of bloodline, the Eagle Demon suppressed the Rabbit Demon. The Eagle Demon was extremely fast. Although the Rabbit Demon was more agile and kept dodging, it still couldn't make up for the difference in strength. Poof! At a certain moment, the Rabbit Demon let out a painful growl. A bloody hole appeared in its abdomen. A bloody demon core floated in the Eagle Demon's palm. He licked his lips, opened his mouth, and swallowed it directly. Most of the core formation stage demon's cultivation was in the demon core. After losing the demon core, the Rabbit Demon's cultivation immediately fell to the transformation stage. The Rabbit Demon didn't care about wiping the blood at the corner of his mouth. He gritted his teeth and said, "Run, big brother." The other female rabbit demons had tears of grief and anger on their faces. When they wanted to escape, they found that they were already surrounded by the Eagle Demon's subordinates. The Eagle Demon licked the blood at the corner of his mouth and said, "Kill all the male rabbits. Keep the female rabbits and send them to my room tonight." Just as the demons were about to attack, a ray of light flashed across their heads. A young eagle demon raised his head and said angrily, "Who is it? Come down." The eagle demon clan had pledged allegiance to the Thousand Fox country. No one in the demon kingdom dared to provoke them. Someone actually dared to fly over their heads. The ray of light had already flown over, but when it heard the voice, it flew back and landed on the mountain peak. It was a young and handsome human man. He looked at the young eagle demon and asked, "You called me?" When the eagle demon saw Li Mu, he was stunned for a moment and blurted out, "Human?" The demon kingdom was a forbidden area for humans. Who would have the guts to swagger in the air here? His cultivation shouldn't be high. He didn't expect that not only would he be able to eat a demon core today, he would also be able to swallow a human primordial spirit. The eagle demon was overjoyed and immediately flew towards the young human. A ray of golden light flew out from the young man's hand and turned into a rope that wrapped around the eagle demon's neck. The eagle demon felt that the spiritual power in his body couldn't circulate and fell from the sky. He was shocked and knew that this person was not to be trifled with. He immediately shouted, "I'm a disciple of the Meizong sect in the Thousand Fox country. If you dare to hurt me, the Meizong sect won't let you go." Meizong sect? Li Mu glanced at him and shook his head. The Meizong sect is getting more and more casual with their recruitment. He came to the Thousand Fox country alone and just happened to lack first-hand information. He was still worried about where to ask when a demon came to him. Li Mu directly pressed his hand on the eagle demon's head and forcefully searched his soul. The Glory sect sent 3 elders to ambush the Heavenly Lord of Myriad Illusions who was in seclusion. The Heavenly Lord of Myriad Illusions was severely injured and only his primordial spirit managed to escape. The 3 Glory sect elders were also severely injured and are recuperating in the Thousand Fox country. With the help of the Glory sect elders, Bai Xian's cultivation base has broken through to the 6th level. He is now the king of the Thousand Fox country and the great elder of Meizong sect. He is currently looking for Huan Ji in the entire demon country. The information Li Mu found from the eagle demon was similar to what he heard from Lord Ju, but more detailed. The Lord of Illusions was indeed not dead. For existences like them, as long as a trace of their primordial spirit was still alive, it was difficult for them to completely die. The fact that primordial spirit was not captured was also good news. In addition, the demon path really wanted the celestial wolf tribe and the Thousand Fox country to unify the entire demon kingdom. Their goal was self-evident. When the demon kingdom was unified, it would be the time for them to wage war against the Great Zhou. Li Mu finished searching the eagle demon's memories for the past few months. The eagle demon's expression became dull. His mouth opened and saliva flowed out. He let go of his hand and the demon fell to the ground. Then he saw a few rabbit demons standing in the distance, looking at him in horror and trembling. Li Mu's throat moved. Hu Zhou was right. Lady Rabbit and Lady Cat were much cuter than the other demons. Although they had transformed into human form, they still retained their long, furry ears. At this moment, due to the shock, their rabbit ears were drooping. Their hands were hanging in front of their chests, and their beautiful faces were pale. However, they looked even cuter and could easily arouse the pity of others. Li Mu could not help but want to go up and rub their ears. Chapter 472. In the end, Li Mu resisted the urge to rub the rabbit. Once he was done with the demon nation, it would be better to rub Xiaobai when he returned home. Moreover, there was a bloody male rabbit beside him. He could not rub the female rabbit's ears. The male rabbit demon's demon core was dug out by Eagle 7. His cultivation level was greatly reduced. Although he would not die, his previous cultivation was completely ruined. It would be almost impossible for him to cultivate to the 4th realm in the future. The demon nation was an extremely cruel place. Big demons ate small demons, and small demons ate even smaller demons. Rabbit demons were basically at the bottom of the food chain. Li Mu sensed the mixed demonic aura below and did not want to join in the fun. If not for the little eagle's shout, he might not have come down to meddle in other people's business. But since he came down, Li Mu could not bear to see the rabbit demon's blood continue to flow. In the end, his heart softened. With a flip of his hand, an elixir appeared in his palm. He threw it to the rabbit demon and said, "Eat it and heal yourself." The rabbit demon held the elixir that was filled with spirit chi and said gratefully, "Thank you, benefactor." "Thank you." Li Mu ignored the rabbit demon and thought about how to deal with the 3 eagle demons. Besides the 4th realm eagle demon that he searched the soul of just now, there were 2 other little eagles here. The little eagle that was talkative just now was now pale. His intestines were green with regret. Because of what he said just now, the king had become an idiot. He did not know what would happen to him. The 2 little eagles looked at each other and immediately revealed their true forms. They were 2 goshawks. When they spread their wings, they were more than 10 feet long. They did not even care about the king as they spread their wings and flew into the sky. Li Mu's figure disappeared from where he was. Then there were 2 bangs in the air. A few feathers slowly floated down. The 2 goshawks fell to the ground. There was a footprint on each of their backs. Li Mu had already thought of the next step of the plan. Of course, he would not let them run away just like that. The 2 little eagles fainted from the fall. The rest of the rabbit demons surrounded them. The male rabbit demon's wound was no longer bleeding. He knelt on the ground and bowed to Li Mu with his hands clasped. He said, "Thank you, benefactor, for saving us." The female rabbit demons knelt down to express their gratitude. Even those rabbits that had yet to transform also knelt on the ground and kowtowed incessantly. Li Mu waved his hand and said, "Consider yourself lucky. I can save you this time, but I can't save you next time. You better find another place to cultivate," the male rabbit demon said. "Little demons plead for benefactor to take us in. We are willing to do anything for benefactor to repay your kindness." Li Mu did not need him to work like an ox or a horse. Making spicy rabbit heads was more like it. However, as the saying went, save the rabbit to the end, and send the Buddha to the west. The situation in the Yao nation had changed. If Li Mu abandoned them, they would still be on the same path. That would mean that he had saved them for nothing. He thought for a moment and said, "The Yao nation is no longer safe. You can go to the Great Zhou's North County or Zhejiang County and seek refuge with the demon minister of these 2 counties. After becoming a demon citizen of the Great Zhou, as long as you abide by the law, no one can bully you. If you're willing to go, help me bring these 3 eagles over. Tell the demon order to let the 3 of them reform through labor." After hearing Li Mu describe the treatment of the demon citizens of the Great Zhou, the rabbit demons looked expectant. Li Mu handed the eagle demon to them and turned into the eagle demon's appearance. This scene made the rabbit demons widen their eyes. After the male rabbit demon came back to his senses, he asked carefully, "Benefactor, are you going to the 1,000 Fox Nation?" Li Mu did not answer. The rabbit demon thought for a moment and said, "Benefactor, if you're going to the 1,000 Fox Nation, it's best to bring us along. That way, it'll be easier to gain their trust." Li Mu thought carefully. The rabbit demon's words made sense. If he returned to the 1,000 Fox Nation empty-handed as an eagle, it meant that his mission had failed. The Meizong sect would definitely send someone else. If he brought this nest of rabbits with him, the rabbit demon's matter would end here. That makes sense. I'll pick a few people to go to the 1,000 Fox Nation with me. Li Mu thought for a moment and pointed at the male rabbit demon. The male rabbit demon's face lit up. Li Mu said, "Take the rabbits who haven't transformed and these 3 eagles to the Great Zhou. The rest of you, follow me to the 1,000 Fox Nation." The male rabbit demon looked at his 4 sisters. Other than him and the rabbit demon who hadn't transformed, they were the others. The 1,000 Fox Nation. Li Mu stood at the city gate with 4 rabbit demons behind him. Other than the male rabbit demon and the rabbit who hadn't transformed, there were only 4 female rabbit demons left in the Little Rabbit clan. The 4 rabbit demons looked exactly the same. They were sisters from the same nest. Li Mu sighed in his heart. Things were the same, but the people had changed. At the gate of the 1,000 Fox City, a leopard demon looked envious. He said, "Eagle 7, you're so lucky. You caught 4 rabbit demons, and they look exactly the same. Give me 2, even 1. Li Mu waved his hand and said, "Get lost. If I give you 1, the 4 sisters will become 3 sisters. What's the point of that?" The leopard demon spat in his heart. This perverted eagle's luck was really good to the extreme. Rabbits always gave birth to litters, and there were many sisters. However, it was rare to see all 4 sisters cultivate into a human form. Why didn't such a good thing fall on his head? Li Mu led the 4 rabbit demons into the city and came to a courtyard in the city. As a 4th realm demon, Eagle 7's strength wasn't top-notch, But he wasn't weak either. He had a small house in the city where only one eagle lived. Now he had 4 more rabbits. Everyone knew that Eagle 7 was a LSP. Every month, he was given spiritual jades not to cultivate, but to rescue female demons who had lost their footing. In the Thousand Fox Country, it was very common for female demons to exchange their bodies for cultivation resources. Now that he caught 4 rabbits from outside, no one doubted him. Everyone was only envious. In Eagle 7's house, Li Mu sat on a chair. 2 rabbit demons were massaging his shoulders and 2 other rabbit demons were massaging his legs. The rabbit demon's surname was Bai. The 4 sisters were called Jingjing, Yingying, Xiao Xiao, and Rong Rong. They were cute and obedient. Li Mu even wondered if he should keep them in the future and let them serve Lu Hanyan and Li Qing. Wan Wan was already half the master of the house. It wasn't appropriate for her to be a maid. Li Mu didn't stay in the house for long before a bell rang from the direction of the imperial palace. When the bell rang, all the disciples of the Meizong sect in the city had to rush to the gathering place within 15 minutes. Li Mu ordered the 4 sisters to wait in the house. He flew in the direction of the imperial palace. This gathering should be to assign new tasks. After the internal strife of the Meizong sect, a large number of experts were lost. Later, when Bai Xian took power, there was no one under his command. He lowered the standards and recruited many people. The ugly Eagle 7 was summoned at that time. He had greatly lowered the appearance of the Meizong sect. Li Mu arrived at the gathering place. After glancing around, he thought to himself, the Meizong sect only exists in name. In the past, every member of Meizong sect was a handsome man and a beautiful woman. They could easily infiltrate the enemy's inner circle and become undercover agents. Now, Meizong sect's repulsive members would attract the attention of the inner guards because of their looks, let alone infiltrating the imperial court. Li Mu landed on the square in front of the imperial palace. The leopard demon that he saw at the city gate just now walked over. He put his arm around his shoulder and said, Eagle 7, I don't want you to send me off. When you're tired of playing with them, you can let me play with them, okay? Li Mu said, you'd better find them yourself. I'll play with those 4 rabbits for a year. Leopard 5 let go of Li Mu and said, stingy. Don't expect me to think of you when there's something good next time. Li Mu ignored him and went to the front to receive the task. After Bai Xian took over, he made some changes to the rules of the Meizong sect. In order to avoid serious consequences caused by spies, all the disciples of the Meizong sect would not be in the same position for a long time. They would randomly receive tasks. This time, the task was to guard the city gate. The next task might be to go out and subdue the demon clan or patrol the streets. In this way, even if there were spies, it would be difficult for them to do anything in a limited time. In front of the crowd, an elder of the Meizong sect shouted, Eagle 7. Li Mu stood up and said, Here. The elder handed him a token and said, Your task for these 3 days is to guard Huan Yun. After 3 days, there will be a new task. Li Mu's eyes flashed and he said in a deep voice, Yes. Chapter 473. Huan Yun, the son of Heaven Lord of Illusion and the Grand Elder of Meizong, was the most important criminal in Thousand Fox City. During the internal strife of Meizong, he and some other elders of Meizong who disobeyed the Bai family had their cultivation sealed and were locked in the dungeon under the palace. Other than Huan Ji, who was not in Thousand Fox Country, Hu Lu, Hu Jiu, and all the other elders of Meizong who were loyal to Heaven Lord were captured by the Bai family. Although Huan Yun was powerful, he could only surrender in front of the 7th Realm Elders of Sage Sect. Li Mu and the other 2 demons walked into the palace and went down the stone steps into the mountain. In the past 3 days, Leopard 5 and Pig 8 were guarding Huan Yun and the others. Perhaps it was because he was a traitor, but after Bai Xian took power, he treated everything with extreme caution. Even a small task like guarding the door was assigned to the 3 demons. The 3 demons cooperated with each other and supervised each other. No one could play any tricks in the dark. After arriving at the dungeon, Pig 8 snorted and sat comfortably on the chair. He said, It's so comfortable here. It's much better than guarding the city gate. I have to be exposed to the sun outside. You guys keep watch, I'll take a nap. Lazy pig. Leopard 5 snorted and walked deeper into the dungeon. Li Mu followed behind Leopard 5. Their duty was to guard these criminals and prevent them from escaping from the dungeon. If anything happened, they had to report it to their superiors immediately. These former Maisong sect elites had their cultivation sealed. The chains passed through their shoulder blades and they were covered in wounds. Their auras were very weak. Leopard 5 walked all the way to the innermost part of the dungeon. He picked up the whip on the rack and whipped it hard at a figure tied to the rack. The figure's hands and feet were tied. There were also chains passing through his shoulder blades. His hair was disheveled and he looked at Leopard 5 indifferently. Leopard 5 was frightened by this gaze. But he soon realized that no matter how powerful he was in the past and how high his status was, he was just a prisoner now. What was there to be afraid of? Thinking of this, he waved the whip even more frequently. Do you still think you're the Grand Elder of Maisong sect? How dare you look at me like this? Try looking again. In the past, he didn't even have the qualifications to be looked at by Huan Yun. Now, he could stand in front of Huan Yun and humiliate him. This made Leopard 5 feel a sense of accomplishment. It was the current Great Elder Bai Xian's idea to humiliate Huan Yun every day. Not only was he following orders, but he also enjoyed the pleasure of tormenting experts. Huan Yun's cultivation had been sealed, so this kind of whip could not hurt him. However, the physical pain and psychological humiliation were unavoidable. After whipping himself for a while, Leopard 5 handed the whip to Li Mu and said, "Eagle 7, do you want to come?" Li Mu waved his hand and said, "Do it yourself. I'll study other torture devices." Leopard 5's excitement had already worn off. He returned to the torture chamber at the front and called Zhu 8 to gamble with spirit jades. Li Mu picked up a soldering iron and a pair of scissors. The torture tools in Thousand Fox Nation were even more varied than those in the Ministry of Justice. In the end, Li Mu didn't pick up any of them. He walked forward and patted Huan Yun's face. Shaking his head, he said, "I didn't expect that a sixth realm cultivator would end up like this." After saying that, he turned and left. Huan Yun felt a surge of dermic powers in his body, erasing all his pain and slowly repairing his body. He slowly raised his head and looked at the departing figure. In the dungeon, Leopard 5 and Zhu 8 were gambling with spirit jades. Li Mu sat on a chair and closed his eyes to rest. It wasn't that he couldn't save Huan Yun. However, if he did, it would definitely cause a commotion. His identity was also very likely to be exposed. For the sake of the big picture, it was better to let Huan Yun suffer a little first. The Imperial Court's alliance with the Nine Heaven Snake clan and the Tian Shan Bear clan was rejected. Li Mu's reputation was no greater than that of the Dean of White Deer Academy. It was very likely that these two clans would ignore him. Therefore, Li Mu didn't want to ally with them from the beginning. The simplest way was to help Huan Ji regain control of Thousand Fox Nation and destroy the demon sect's plan. However, those three old fellows were still here. It was not easy to do that. If there was only one of them, it would be fine. However, he couldn't deal with 3 7th realm experts no matter what. Li Mu didn't believe that these three old fellows would stay here forever. Although the demon sect's foundation was deep, there wouldn't be many 7th realm experts. These three people definitely wouldn't stay here forever. Li Mu looked at Leopard 5 and said casually, "Old 5, aren't you afraid that the Heavenly Monarch will come back and regain control of the demon sect? When that time comes, you will be skinned alive by the Heavenly Monarch." These words made Leopard 5 tremble. Then, he waved his hand and said, "His primordial spirit is severely injured. It's impossible for him to come back. Besides, even if he comes back, the elders of the demon sect won't let him go." Li Mu asked in return, "Will the three elders stay here forever?" Leopard 5 said, "Don't worry. Although 2 elders have already returned to the Saints sect to recuperate, there is still 1 elder who will remain here until we unify the demon nation. If the Heavenly Monarch dares to return, only death awaits him." Li Mu patted his chest and said, "Then I'm relieved." Now he was really relieved. It turned out that Thousand Fox Nation only had 1 injured 7th realm expert. 1 7th realm expert couldn't break the defense of the Dao Bell at all. Li Mu set up the 8 Desolation Corpse refining array. Even if he couldn't kill him, he could trap him. If Chen Shi and the others finished refining the last 2 demon corpses and the 3 elders of Yu and Ming gathered, he wouldn't be afraid. The problem now was how to find Huan Ji. Only by finding Huan Ji could his plan continue. However, There was someone more anxious than him about finding Huan Ji. After Bai Xian took over, he sent out most of the experts of Meizong and Thousand Fox Nation to capture Huan Ji. Li Mu's strength alone couldn't compare to all of them. The only thing he needed to do was to wait. Li Mu was watching Leopard 5 and Piggy 8 gamble with spirit jades when he suddenly heard footsteps outside. The two escorted a woman in. The woman's figure was plump and her looks were also top-notch. Although she wasn't young, she had a mature charm. Leopard 5 and Piggy 8 glanced at her and couldn't move their eyes away. A handsome man walked in front. Leopard 5 and Piggy 8 immediately stood up and said respectfully, "Greetings, Grand Elder." Li Mu also stood up and bowed. Bai Xian didn't even look at them and just waved his hand casually. He looked back at the voluptuous woman and said, "The Huan family has become a thing of the past. Why are you so stubborn? I don't want to attack my own people anymore. If you're willing to submit, you'll still be an elder of Meizong, and your status will be even higher than before." The voluptuous woman spat and gritted her teeth. "You traitor! You betrayed your master, senior brothers, and junior sisters. I feel disgusted just by looking at you. You'll die a horrible death." Slap. Bai Xian's face sank and mercilessly gave her a slap. A handprint immediately appeared on the woman's face. Bai Xian didn't give her a second chance. He glanced at Leopard 5 and the other two demons and said, "I'll leave her to you." Leopard 5 looked at the voluptuous woman and swallowed his saliva. He asked, "Grand Elder, can we do whatever we want with her?" Bai Xian patted his shoulder and said, "You can be bolder." With that, he turned and left. Leopard 5 licked his lips. Just as he was about to walk toward the voluptuous woman, a figure blocked his path. Eagle 7 looked at him and said, "You think I don't exist?" Chapter 474. Leopard 5 looked at Eagle 7 who was standing in front of him. His expression turned ugly as he asked, "You want to fight with me?" Li Mu said lightly, "Grand Elder said to let us deal with it, not you. What right do you have to make the decision?" After that, he didn't forget to look at the pig demon beside him and asked, "Don't you think so, Zhuba?" Zhuba shook his head and said, "You can fight among yourselves. I'm not interested." Leopard 5 looked at Li Mu and said angrily, "Don't you already have those 4 rabbits?" Li Mu glanced at him and said, "Although I have 4 rabbits, I still want a fox." "I haven't tasted a fox yet," Leopard 5 snorted and said, "How can there be such a good thing? Either you give me the 4 rabbits and I'll give you the fox, or you don't fight with me." Li Mu refused. "Sorry, I'm a person. Sorry, I'm a demon. I always want everything." Leopard 5 didn't waste any more words with Li Mu. He gritted his teeth and asked, "You mean you want to fight with me?" Li Mu said, "Same old rules. Whoever wins gets the fox." The demon race respected strength and also worshipped the strong. Under such circumstances, it was common to determine the winner through battle. Only the winner had the right to speak. Leopard 5 snorted and said, "Don't forget, you lost to me 3 times. I won't show mercy later." Li Mu grinned and said, "Coincidentally, I just ate a rabbit demon's inner core. My magic power increased greatly and I was just about to take revenge on you. This wasn't the place to fight." The two walked out of the dungeon and saw Bai Xian standing outside with his arms crossed. He was looking at them with interest. Leopard 5 wasn't confident and asked, "Grand Elder Bai Xian waved his hand and said, "It's okay. You guys fight. Don't worry about me." Although he had not caught Huan Ji, he had caught Hulu. He was in a good mood today. When he heard the conversation between the eagle and the demon, he had the urge to watch the show. In an open space outside the entrance of the dungeon, both of them had thrown away their weapons. For the demon race, their bodies were their most powerful magical weapons. Under normal circumstances, they would also choose this kind of primitive and violent method to fight. Leopard 5 had been enduring Eagle 7 for a long time. Not only because he had obtained quadruplet rabbit demons, but also because of his greed. He faced the sky and let out a roar. Black fur grew on the outside of his body. His eyes turned red, and his arms turned into leopard claws. His sharp nails shone with a cold light. He bared his fangs and said, "Mixed hairbird, I'm going to pluck all your feathers today." As soon as he finished speaking, he, who had already turned into a half-demon, shot towards Li Mu. His speed was extremely fast, so fast that several afterimages appeared in the void. Speed was the leopard clan's racial talent. Although Leopard 5 was only at the 4th realm, if he unleashed his full speed, a typical 5th realm demon would be able to catch up to him in no time. Behind Bai Xian, the demons watched with trepidation. This leopard demon relied on speed. It would be hard to find a match for him in the same realm. Then, they looked at the eagle demon opposite them. Although this demon did not reveal his true form, his hands had already turned into claws. His hands looked white and slender, but it was definitely not a problem for him to split gold and stone. The leopard demon was the fastest on the ground. The sky was the eagle demon's territory. If they were to compete in speed, the eagle demon would definitely win against the leopard demon of the same realm. However, the leopard demon still had the advantage in a physical fight on the ground. It could be seen from this battle. The eagle demon was at a disadvantage almost from the beginning. The reason he did not lose was because his fighting style was too ruthless. He was almost sacrificing himself to injure the eagle demon. The leopard demon did not want to exchange injuries with him. He went from being proactive in the beginning to being passive in defense. At the edge of the open space, Bai Xian looked at the eagle demon with admiration. He did not lack powerful warriors, but he lacked such fearless warriors. The snake under Huan Ji's command was like this. Bai Xian used to envy Huan Ji for having such a subordinate. Now he had one too. Whoosh! Leopard 5's sharp claws cut through the air and left a few bloody grooves on Eagle 7's arm. However, Eagle 7's claws also landed on his abdomen. If Leopard 5 did not dodge quickly, this claw would have dug out his demon core. Even so, a wound was left on his abdomen. Leopard 5's face was pale and his eyes were filled with fear. He was scared. He was really scared. He only wanted a female fox, but Eagle 7 wanted his life. Wasn't it just a woman? He could just give it to him. This perverted eagle, it was not enough that he had 4 female rabbits at home. He would not even let a female fox go. Sooner or later, all his fur would fall off from excessive indulgence. Thinking of this, Leopard 5 retreated as fast as he could and shouted, "I won't fight with you. I won't fight with you, okay? You lunatic." At this moment, there were a few wounds on his body that were still bleeding. However, Eagle 7 was even more miserable. There were more than a dozen wounds on his body and he was covered in blood. Although his cultivation was not high, the aura he emitted made even Realm 5 demons tremble in fear. He was like an Azura that walked out of a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood. Bai Xian walked out slowly and looked at him. He asked, "What's your name?" Li Mu wiped the blood on his face and said, "Your subordinate is Eagle 7. Bai Xian said, "You can tell me your real name." When the demons around him heard this, they were all surprised. Leopard 5 was about to go crazy with jealousy. Most of the demons in Thousand Fox Country did not have names. For example, Leopard 5, Pig 8, and Eagle 7. Only the strong had the right to give human names. For example, the Fox Country royal family and the former Grand Elder Huan Yun and Elder Huan Ji. The fact that the Grand Elder allowed Eagle 7 to have a name meant that he admired Eagle 7 a lot. The demons that were given names by him were all powerful elders of Meizong. Li Mu thought for a moment and said, "My surname is Peng. Because my mother likes to eat fish and my father likes to eat geese, they call me Peng Yuyan." Bai Xian asked, "Peng Yuyan, are you willing to become my personal guard?" Li Mu cupped his fists and bowed. He said loudly, "Your subordinate is willing." Bai Xian stretched out his hand. With a flash of white light, a pill appeared in his palm. He threw the pill to Li Mu and said, "After you're healed, report to the palace." Li Mu said in a deep voice, "Yes." Bai Xian looked at him one last time and left with his hands behind his back. Even though Leopard 5 was extremely jealous, he still ran up immediately and said with a smile, "I was wrong in the past. I hope Commander Eagle will be magnanimous and not blame me." Li Mu could not be bothered with him and strode towards the dungeon. Leopard 5 still had a smile on his face, but he was cursing in his heart. This old pervert was so impatient. He would die in a woman's belly sooner or later. Then, he hurriedly chased after him and said, "Commander Eagle, I'll arrange it for you." Not long after, in a sealed cell in the dungeon, whose 6 cultivation was sealed. At this moment, she was no different from an ordinary human woman. She had always been fearless, but now, she had a panicked expression on her face. Leopard 5 closed the door of the cell and shouted from outside, "I'll be right outside. If Commander Eagle needs anything, just tell me." Li Mu walked toward Hu 6 step by step. Hu 6 looked at the eagle demon covered in blood, her beautiful face full of despair. As he slowly approached, Hu 6 suddenly slammed her head against the wall. Li Mu stretched out his hand and an invisible force controlled her. Li Mu looked at Hu 6 and said indifferently, "Although your cultivation is sealed, you're still a fifth realm expert. Even if your body is dead, your primordial spirit is still here." Hu 6 said fiercely, "I don't believe you're still interested in a corpse." Li Mu smiled and said, "I won't let you become a corpse." Hu 6 knew that she couldn't die even if she wanted to. She closed her eyes in despair and said unwillingly, "If I knew I would be tainted by a beast like you, I would have let that Li guy take advantage of me earlier." Li Mu stopped in his tracks. He had something to say but didn't know where to go. He glanced at Hu 6 and said with his voice, "In your dreams." "I told you you're too old. I don't want you. It's better if it's Phantom Princess." Hu 6 was stunned. She pointed at Li Mu and was so shocked that she couldn't speak. You. Li Mu continued, "Stupid fox, it wasn't easy for me to come in undercover. Don't ruin it." Hu 6 was stunned for a long time. Then, she sat on the ground and hugged her knees as she cried. After falling into Bai Xian's hands, she met two lechers. She thought that she was about to face the darkest moment of her life. She didn't expect that the lechers would be lechers, but they were the lechers she wanted to see even in her dreams. Although she didn't get along well with Li Mu every time they met, it was really great to see him here. In just an instant, she went from a harsh winter to a warm spring. This happiness made her want to cry. Outside the door, Leopard 5 sighed. This beautiful fox demon was also taken by that mixed hairbird. That mixed hairbird must have already started his operation. Just listen to how sad this fox demon is crying. Inside the cell, Li Mu squatted down and nudged Hu 6 who was sobbing softly. "Don't cry. Can you scream a little? That way, your acting will be more realistic." Chapter 475. Outside the cell, Leopard 5 put his ear to the door. The door suddenly opened and he almost went in. Li Mu looked at him with an unfriendly expression and asked, "What are you doing here?" Leopard 5 said seriously, "I'm here waiting for Commander Eagle's orders." Li Mu kicked him in the butt and said mercilessly, "I don't need you here. Get lost." I'll get lost." Leopard 5 patted his butt and ran away obediently. However, he was complaining in his heart. This Eagle 7 is not only lecherous but also stingy. He won't lose anything by listening to her voice. Li Mu walked back to the cell and dispelled the idea of asking Hu 6 to bark. That scene was too embarrassing. Not only was Fox 6 embarrassed, but Li Mu was also embarrassed. He decided to stay here for 2 hours. Besides Fox 6, no one would know what he was doing in these 2 hours. Hu Lu was no longer crying. Instead, she silently untied her skirt. Li Mu was stunned and said, "What are you doing?" Fox 6 took off her skirt and only wore a pink doo-doo. She said, "You're still being wishy-washy at this time. Are you waiting for me to help you take it off?" Li Mu waved his hand and she put her skirt back on. He explained to Fox 6, "I came up with a temporary solution to save you. If I didn't stand up, the one standing here would be that leopard." Fox 6 said, "I know you don't like me, but there's no other way. Do you want to fail your undercover mission?" Li Mu said, "I'll stay here for 2 hours. If you cooperate with me and scream, it'll be easy to fool him." Fox 6 shook her head and said, "You're thinking too simply. Bai Xian can tell at a glance whether I'm a virgin or not. The next time he sees me, it'll be the time your identity will be exposed." Li Mu stood there in a daze. It wasn't until now that he realized he had made a fatal mistake. The Fox clan had a special talent. Whether the other party was a human or a demon, they could tell whether the other party was a virgin or not. Xiao Bai had displayed this talent in front of him more than once. In other words, as long as the experts of the Fox clan looked at Hu Lu, they would know that Li Mu hadn't done anything to her this time. Then they would suspect him. At that time, all of Li Mu's previous efforts would be wasted. Li Mu glanced at Fox 6 and couldn't help but complain, "You're not young anymore. Why haven't you found a partner yet?" Not to be outdone, Hu Lu said, "I'm only 2 years older than the Empress of Great Zhou. Isn't she still a virgin?" Li Mu knocked on her head. "How dare you? His Majesty is not someone a fox like you can talk about." Fox 6 rubbed his head and lay on the bed as if he had given up. He said, "Then think of a way." "I don't care anymore." Li Mu rubbed his chin and thought of a solution. Although Hu Lu had already accepted her fate and laid down, it was impossible for him to turn her from a young girl into a woman if he really had sex with her. He was not a casual man, but he absolutely could not expose himself. If it was possible, Li Mu wanted Hu Lu to do it herself, but the Fox clan's supernatural power did not depend on that kind of thing. Men were yang and women were yin. Before the yin and yang intercourse, the yang and yin qi of a man and woman would be pure without any impurities. After the yin and yang intercourse there would be yang and yin and yang. Even if it was only once, the yin and yang would no longer be pure. The Fox clan was very sensitive to the yin and yang qi of living things. They could use this to observe whether a man was a young man or a woman. In the eyes of the Fox clan, anything was what it was. Whether it was a transvestite or a transvestite, nothing could be hidden from the eyes of the Fox clan. Li Mu couldn't do anything about it at the moment, so he decided not to think about it. He asked Hu Lu, "Where's Phantom Princess?" Worry appeared in Hu Lu's eyes. She said, "I don't know. Bai Xian sent people to chase us. Lord Phantom Princess, Hu Jiao, and I escaped separately. Bai Xian shouldn't have caught them yet." She got up from the bed and looked at Li Mu. She asked, "What are you doing here? You know the art of transformation. Have you reached the 6th realm?" Li Mu glanced at her and said, "Have you forgotten what I do? It's just a matter of a disguise talisman. As for why I'm here, it's because you forced me. Who doesn't know that after the Fox clan and the Wolf clan unify the Demon Nation, their next target will be the Great Zhou? How can I just stand by and watch?" Hu Lu gritted her teeth and said, "It's all because of that traitor Bai Xian. He colluded with the Sage Sex Elder and ambushed the Lord of Heaven. He even imprisoned the Great Elder. In principle, the Lord of Illusion was the traitor of the diabolism. Bai Xian and the Sage Sex Elder were just cleaning up the sect. However, Li Mu was also a traitor of the diabolism. Not only did he betray the diabolism, but he also led a group of traitors of the Corpse sect to steal the Sage Sex wool. He also had no right to speak here." He looked at Hu Lu and said, "If I help Phantom Princess return to the Thousand Fox country and regain control of the Meizong sect, do you dare to go against the Sage sect?" Hu Lu immediately asked, "Are you willing to help Lord Phantom Princess regain control of the Meizong sect?" Li Mu thought for a moment and said, "You can't make the decision on this matter. Let's talk about it after seeing Phantom Princess." He walked to the door and said, "You stay here first. I can't stay here for too long. I'll contact you in the next few days." Li Mu's original plan was to stay here for 2 hours. During these 2 hours, Hu Lu would cooperate with him to make a symbolic call, and then he would go out. No one would suspect anything. Who would have thought that Hu Lu, an old fox, would mess up Li Mu's plan like Mr. Mei, Shangguan Li, and His Majesty? He could only find another reason. In the dungeon, Leopard 5 was stunned when he saw Eagle 7 walk out of the cell after only half an hour. He blurted out, "So fast." Li Mu said angrily, "Who are you scolding?" Leopard 5 knew that he had said something wrong, so he immediately smiled apologetically and said, "Commander Eagle, why don't you play with her for a while?" Li Mu said, "I didn't expect that fox to be a virgin. The pure yin in her body is still there. Wouldn't it be a waste to push her away now? When I completely refine the snake demon's demon core and improve my cultivation, I can use her pure yin to break through to the 5th realm and become an elder." He looked at Leopard 5 and Pig 8 and warned, "Right, that fox is mine. If any one of you dares to touch her, I'll cut off your manhood and make it into wine." Pig 8 quickly said, "You know I'm not interested in foxes." Leopard 5 also promised. After Li Mu left, Leopard 5's eyes were filled with jealousy. All of this was supposed to be his, but Eagle 7 took it away from him. When Eagle 7's cultivation broke through, the gap between him and this mixed eagle would be irreparable. After Leopard 5's jealousy, he was also very regretful. If he had risked his life like Eagle 7 just now, perhaps he would have been appreciated by the Grand Elder and become the Grand Elder's personal guard. His future as a demon would be limitless. Unfortunately, there were no ifs. Li Mu's excuse was excellent. No one suspected that there was a problem with Eagle 7's identity. However, many people suspected that there was a problem with his body. 2 days later, a small circle of Meizong's sect began to spread that Eagle 7's body couldn't take it anymore. In less than 10 minutes, he surrendered his spear to the fox demon. As for keeping the pure Een, it was just an excuse for him to cover up his inability. It wasn't until some meddlesome Meizong experts went to the dungeon to take a look and found that the fox demon's pure Een was indeed still there that the rumor was dispelled. The first pure Een of a 5th realm fox demon was so precious that many demons were drooling over it. The prisoners in the dungeon could be dealt with at will. As long as they were alive, the Grand Elder wouldn't care. However, no one dared to have any thoughts about that fox. Firstly, that eagle was lucky enough to be appreciated by the Grand Elder and became his personal guard. His status was above ordinary Meizong sect disciples and no one was willing to offend him. Secondly, many people had seen the battle between Eagle 7 and Leopard 5 that day. That kind of fearless and suicidal fighting style had left a deep psychological shadow in many people's hearts. After that battle, everyone in Thousand Fox Country knew that Eagle 7 was a hungry pervert. He was willing to give up his life for a woman. Who dared to touch the fox he fancied? Chapter 476. Although Li Mu guarded the prison for 3 days, Fox 6 didn't suffer any torture after he left. However, his reputation was damaged because of this. Everyone in Meizong of Qianhu knew that Eagle 7 was a pervert who cared more about sex than his life. However, he didn't care. They were talking about Eagle 7 behind his back. What did it have to do with Li Mu? After resting at home for 3 days, Li Mu became Bai Xian's personal guard and entered the imperial palace for duty. The biggest benefit of being his personal guard was that he didn't have to run around tirelessly. What he was involved in were all confidential matters of Meizong and Qianhu. Li Mu had 2 things to do now. First, he had to find Phantom Princess. She was a legitimate demon and was very popular in Qianhu. Only she could replace Bai Xian and become the ruler of Qianhu. Second, he had to find out where one of Glory Sect's Yuming elders, the elder who was recuperating in Qianhu, was in seclusion. He had to take his life while he was sick. Li Mu didn't forget that there was another level 7 old man in Tianlang. If he waited until Glory Sect's elder finished recuperating, Li Mu would have to die here alone even if he had 8 demon corpses. Only by getting rid of one of them and interfering in Qianhu's affairs would he have some confidence. That Glory Sect elder was seriously injured and wouldn't be able to recover in a short time. Even if Li Mu couldn't get rid of him, he had to make him even more injured and eliminate the threat of a level 7 expert. However, he hadn't gained Bai Xian's trust yet and definitely wouldn't have access to such core secrets. Although he had become Bai Xian's personal guard, Bai Xian only let him guard the door. He had to do something to gain Bai Xian's trust first. Li Mu planned in his heart as he stood at the palace gate and basked in the sun. A group of people walked in from afar. After those people walked in, another white Xian guard beside him said hatefully, "Those wolf cubs are here again." Li Mu asked, "What are they doing here?" Fox 18 said, "Of course it's to take over their territory. I don't know what the Sage sect is thinking. We're clearly on their side, but they'd rather support these immature wolf cubs." Hushiba had a deep grudge against the Celestial Wolf clan. In fact, he wasn't the only one. Most of the demons in the Thousand Fox Nation didn't like them. It wasn't just because the 2 clans used to be enemies. As one of the 4 great demon clans, the conflict between the Wolf clan and the Fox clan was the deepest. For hundreds and thousands of years, this kind of conflict had long been engraved in their bones. Although the 2 races had become allies from enemies, the enmity engraved in their bones could not be resolved. What's more, even if they were allies, the 2 races still had conflicts of interest. Under the instructions of Glory Sect, the Fox race and Wolf race began to swallow up the other forces of the Demon Kingdom. Both clans wanted to strengthen themselves. When fighting for territory, they naturally would not give in. However, the super expert of the Fox clan, Heaven Lord Wan Huan, was no longer around. After the internal strife in the Meizong sect, their vitality was greatly damaged. Their overall strength was far inferior to the Wolf clan. In the beginning, the territory that they snatched was quickly snatched back by the wolf clan. Later, Bai Xian protested to the Glory Sect elder. After the Glory Sect elder stepped in, the wolf clan calmed down a little. Moreover, the Glory Sect elder also ordered that the two clans were forbidden to engage in large-scale fights for disputed territories. They would be settled by the most traditional method of the Demon Clan. The most traditional method of the Demon Clan to resolve disputes was the same as when Lemur and Leopard 5 fought over Fox 6. The bigger fist was the law. Everything depended on strength. If the Wolf Clan and the Fox Clan had a dispute, each clan would send out a person to compete. The winner would have the only right to speak, and the loser could only blame themselves for not being as strong as the other. In order to avoid too much damage, the strength of the competing demons was limited to the 5th realm and below. This was obviously to take care of the Fox Clan. After a wave of internal strife, there weren't many experts left in the Fox Clan. If the restriction was lifted, the Wolf Clan would simply crush the Fox Clan. Even with the addition of this restriction, the Thousand Fox Nation had never won even once. As a result, many of the territories that the Fox Clan had set their eyes on had already fallen into the hands of the Sky Wolf Clan. The better territories were all swallowed up by the Sky Wolf Clan. The Fox Clan could only pick up the scraps and bully the Rabbit Clan and other small demon clans that the Wolf Clan looked down on. After winning a large number of territories through multiple competitions, the Wolf Clan had taken a liking to this method. Sometimes, they would even deliberately provoke conflicts and then rightfully take over the territories that the Fox Clan had set their eyes on. Thousand Fox Nation. In front of the palace. Bam, 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 bam. Two figures exuded a primal bestial aura as they fought in the square in front of the palace. They did not use any Dharma treasures or external objects. They fought purely with their demon bodies and demonic techniques. The Fox Clan sent out Leopard 5, while the Wolf Clan sent out a Tiger Demon. The Tiger Demon Clan belonged to the Demon Sect and was also one of the top forces in the Demon Nation. Ever since the Sky Wolf Clan joined the Demon Sect, they ruled over the Demon Sect. Naturally, the Tiger Demon Clan also became a subordinate of the Sky Wolf Clan. Leopard 5 was fast, but compared to the Tiger Demon, he was at an absolute disadvantage in terms of strength. In the beginning, he could still use his unparalleled speed to gain a slight advantage. However, as his stamina gradually depleted, it was obvious that he was going to lose. In a moment of carelessness, he was hit in the chest by the Tiger Demon. Like a kite with a broken string, he spat out blood and flew out of the arena. A 6th realm wolf demon looked at Bai Xian and said with a smile, "Brother Bai, I'm so sorry. It seems that we have to take over Black Wind Mountain." The Fox Clan had sent people to take over Black Wind Mountain first, but the Wolf Clan, who arrived later, took advantage of it. Here, the Fox Clan lost again and completely lost control of Black Wind Mountain. Bai Xian's face was gloomy and he was extremely unwilling to accept this. However, he could not disobey the rules set by the Sage Sect Elder before he went into seclusion. Bai Xian looked coldly at the wolf demon and asked loudly, "Who's willing to fight next?" No one answered behind him. The Fox Clan had lost too many times. Everyone knew that if they could save face for the Grand Elder and Meizong Sect, they would be rewarded handsomely. However, the demons sent by the Tianlang dynasty to fight for territory with the Fox Clan were all powerhouses who were half a step into the 5th realm. They could break through at any time, but they forcefully kept their strength at the 4th realm. These demons were strong and ruthless. If their cultivation foundation was destroyed by them, perhaps they would have no hope of advancing in this lifetime. In the past few days, who knew how many people who were eager to gain merit entered the competition vertically or horizontally? There were even a few who were beaten until only their demon souls remained. With such a precedent, who would dare to step forward? In the square, Bai Xian's face was as black as the bottom of a pot. Not only did they lose, but no one dared to fight. It was a complete disgrace to him. After today, the Sirius Kingdom would probably think that there was no one left in the Fox Clan. They would go overboard in the fight for the Demon Kingdom. Just as Bai Xian was about to randomly choose someone to fight, a voice suddenly came from afar. A thin figure strode over and said loudly, "Grand Elder, I'm willing to fight." Bai Xian looked at the personal guard he had taken in a few days ago with admiration. He had not misjudged the demon. A true warrior dared to face an undefeatable enemy and had the determination to stand up even if he knew he was no match for them. However, Bai Xian still shook his head and said, Seventh Eagle, stand down. You've just recovered from your injuries. There's no need to force yourself. Li Mu did not move from his spot and said in a low voice, Seventh Eagle, even if you lose today and die here, you must let them know that Meizong's sect and Grand Elder are not to be humiliated. All right. Light flashed in by Xian's eyes. Ying Qi's words had reignited the fire that had been extinguished in his heart for a long time. He said loudly, You can give it your all. I will protect you. If you die in battle today, I will kill your enemy and avenge you. The sixth realm wolf demon looked at Bai Xian and said unhappily, Brother Bai, are you going to break the rules of the competition? Bai Xian snorted and said, If Seventh Eagle dies, the territory will belong to you. The person who killed him will belong to me. You can protect him for one day, but you can't protect him forever. The Heavenly Wolf King didn't say anything else. The Wolf Clan had taken advantage of the Fox Clan too much recently. If they pushed Bai Xian too far, it wouldn't be their goal. He could only look at the Tiger Demon and say, Be careful. Don't kill him. The Tiger Demon nodded and said, I understand. The Wolf Demon King looked at Li Mu with respect. Although they were on different sides, such an enemy was worthy of their respect. The Fox Demon Clan and Meizong Sex people were breathing rapidly. Their blood was boiling. Seventh Eagle was hopelessly lecherous, but he never backed down in the face of difficulties. He was a true man of Thousand Fox Country. Two small demons were about to help the injured Leopard 5 down. Leopard 5 looked at the figure and gritted his teeth. Wait. In the square in front of the palace, two figures stood facing each other, separated by 100 feet. Judging from the degree of demon chi they emitted, the Tiger Demon was undoubtedly stronger. However, compared to Seventh Eagle, he lacked an indomitable aura. The aura of the two demons reached a peak and exploded. Their figures disappeared at the same time. Bang! 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 The demons with lower cultivation could not see them. They could only hear the sounds of collisions in the air. Fourth realm demons could barely catch a glimpse of their silhouettes. Only cultivators above the fifth realm could clearly see the details of the battle between the two demons. The Tiger Demon King's fist against the Eagle Demon King's claw. Soon, many people revealed looks of disbelief. On the battlefield, the Tiger Demon, who was stronger, was at a disadvantage. Although they were both fourth realm demons, there was a slight difference in their strength. However, this was not the deciding factor of the battle. The Tiger Demon defended and attacked. However, the Eagle Demon only attacked. One was overcautious while the other was indomitable. The Eagle Demon would rather take a hit from the Tiger Demon to attack the Tiger Demon's fatal spots. His eagle claws were extremely sharp as they scratched at the demon core in the Tiger Demon's abdomen. One of the Eagle Demon's arms drooped weakly. It was clearly broken. There were also a few dents on his body. They were all caused by the Tiger Demon's attacks. However, the Tiger Demon's situation was not optimistic either. There were a few bone-deep wounds on his abdomen. As he attacked, his demon core could even be seen from the outside. If he was scratched a few more times by the reckless Eagle Demon, his demon core would probably be dug out. The demon core was the result of his decades of cultivation. If it was destroyed, his life's cultivation would be destroyed. Seeing the sharp eagle claws coming at him again, the Tiger Demon was completely terrified. It was not worth the risk of destroying his life's cultivation for a small achievement. He quickly retreated and said in horror, I'm not competing anymore. I admit defeat. In the square, Li Mu limped out of the arena with a drooping arm. He looked at Bai Xian and said, First Elder, we won. Then he blacked out and fell to the ground. Chapter 477. Bai Xian extended his hand, and an invisible force supported Li Mu's fallen body. He ordered his subordinates, Take Commander Eagle away to treat his injuries. Two fifth-level monsters beside him quickly carried Li Mu away. Bai Xian looked at the Heavenly Wolf Monarch and said, The Thorns Ridge belongs to my fox tribe. If you dare to touch it, don't blame this emperor for being ruthless. I didn't expect you to have such fierce warriors under your command. The Heavenly Wolf Monarch sighed and said to the monsters behind him, Let's go. When the monsters of the Heavenly Wolf Kingdom left, the morale of the Meizong Sex people was greatly boosted. This was the first time in recent days that they had the upper hand in the confrontation with the wolf tribe. Bai Xian was in a good mood now that the Thousand Fox Kingdom could hold their heads high. He waved his hand and said, "Eagle 7 is promoted to deputy commander of this emperor's second personal guard. Bestow him with a new mansion and 8 beautiful female monsters." "Yes, this subordinate will make the arrangements." When Li Mu opened his eyes, he was already at home. Faint pain came from all over his body, making him very uncomfortable. However, in order to gain Bai Xian's trust, he could only do so. In this world, there was no love without reason, no hatred without reason, and no trust without reason. Fortunately, Li Mu had a lot of experience in how to be a good spy. Moreover, the last time he was a spy was in the Thousand Fox Kingdom. This time, he was even more familiar with it. His superb acting skills had also gained Bai Xian's approval. The demon race was not good at alchemy, so Bai Xian gave Li Mu a lot of spirit herbs. Other than that, he also promoted him to the position of deputy commander of the second personal guards and rewarded him with a large mansion and 8 beautiful female demons of different races. If these 8 female monsters were rewarded by the Empress, Li Mu would definitely refuse without hesitation. However, he could only accept Bai Xian's reward. Everyone in the Thousand Fox Kingdom knew about Eagle 7's lecherousness. No lecherous man could refuse 8 beautiful female monsters, unless his lecherousness was faked. Fortunately, Li Mu was injured, so he had a reason to restrain himself. However, this reason could only be concealed for a while, not forever. Li Mu wanted to find Huan Ji as soon as possible, rescue Huan Yun and the imprisoned elders of the Meizong sect, overthrow the Bai family's rule over the Thousand Fox Nation, and begin to guard against the Wolf Clan with all his might, reversing the situation in the Demon Nation. With his Buddhist cultivation and strong body, such a small injury could be healed in a moment. However, Li Mu still had to slowly recover. If he recovered too quickly, Bai Xian would suspect him. Perhaps Bai Xian's spies were among these demonesses. Li Mu was recuperating in his new home. In the palace, Bai Xian was listening to a report. A fox demon said, "They sent news that Eagle 7 has been recuperating at home. He touched them a lot, but he didn't do anything." Bai Xian rubbed his chin and said, "With that body of his, what can he do? But he's an eagle. Why is he even more lustful than the dragons and snakes? He's already injured to this extent, yet he's still naughty," the fox demon said. "When the forest is big, there are all kinds of birds. It's not strange for a lustful bird to appear occasionally." Many people in the Thousand Fox City knew that Eagle 7 was a lustful bird. However, other than that, what left a deep impression on the demons was his courage to defend the Meizong sect to the death. The Demon Nation was in chaos. The Fox Clan and the Wolf Clan had a lot of friction because they were fighting for territory. This led to a few battles between the two clans almost every few days. The name of Meizong sect's Eagle 7 was completely established in these battles. While he was still recuperating, he ignored the advice of the demons and insisted on fighting. Every time he fought, he would go all out and fight with his life. After a battle, his old injuries would be added to his body. Almost every time, he would be carried off the stage. However, Eagle 7 had never lost. Even if his opponents were stronger than him, they would still be hesitant when faced with his reckless fighting style. Seventh Eagle wanted to trade his life for theirs, but they didn't want to do the same. This caused them to hesitate a lot during the fight, which led to them losing. The people of the Wolf Clan were waiting for the day Eagle 7 fell. However, in the Meizong sect and the Thousand Fox country, the name Eagle 7 was equivalent to a god of war. After seeing Eagle 7's bravery, Bai Xian felt like he had obtained a treasure. All kinds of healing pills and spiritual medicines were thrown down in piles. Li Mu did not stand on ceremony with him. Because he didn't have the time to train, his physical body didn't improve for a long time. Under this method of torturing his body while using the medicinal power to strengthen his body, the strength of his physical body actually increased by a lot. It could be considered an unexpected surprise. After another battle, Li Mu was supported by 2 fox girls. Bai Xian stood beside him and asked Li Mu casually, "How are the maids I gave you?" Li Mu said truthfully, "In reply to First Elder, there have been many battles these days. This subordinate has to conserve energy and has no extra energy to spend on them. When this subordinate's cultivation increases a bit more, I still have to save energy to deal with Hulu." Bai Xian nodded, "That's true, Hulu's bloodline isn't weak either. If you obtain her primordial een, you'll be able to reach the 5th level very quickly. However, you don't need to be in such a rush. When the time comes, I'll find you a few more demonesses with primordial een to help you. If Eagle 7 advanced to the 5th realm, he would not be able to find another person to replace him in the battle. The effect of him not advancing was much greater than advancing. Li Mu nodded. It's all up to you, First Elder. After having Eagle 7, he slowly recovered the grievances he suffered from the Wolf Clan. However, there was still one thing that had always been a thorn in Bai Xian's heart. He breathed a sigh of relief and whispered, Junior sister, where are you? I've been looking for you for a long time. Li Mu hugged the 2 fox girls and sighed in his heart. He said quietly, Phantom Princess, where are you? In a valley in the north of the Demon Kingdom. The situation in the Demon Kingdom had changed greatly. The Celestial Wolf Clan and the Celestial Fox Clan were rapidly annexing the surrounding demon clans. Within the Demon Kingdom, the flames of war were unceasing, but it had not yet spread here. The Mountain Cat Clan lived here. In a cave hidden by a simple formation, Phantom Princess sat cross-legged. The heavenly book in her hand was emitting a faint light. Soon, she slowly opened her eyes and put away the heavenly book. She asked, Can the Mountain Cat Clan be trusted? Hu Jiu nodded. Yes. I once saved the lives of their entire clan. Phantom Princess did not ask any more. She fell silent again. She seemed to have thought of something, and her face showed sadness. Hu Jiu was also affected by her sadness. She said sadly, If it weren't for saving us, Sixth Sister would not have exposed herself. Bai Xian, that traitor, must have had the intention to betray us. Perhaps the death of the little snake was also because of him. I was too useless. I could only watch the little snake explode and Sixth Sister get caught. He raised his head and looked outside. He murmured, I don't know how they will torture Sixth Sister. In the dungeon under the Imperial Palace in Qianhu country, Hu Lu held a drumstick in each hand and ate with her mouth full of oil. She did not forget to ask Li Mu, Next time, bring me some spicy rabbit heads. The wine shop on West Street has good sweet wine. Remember to bring me a bottle. Li Mu glanced at her and said, That's enough. Because his status here was constantly rising, and Hu Lu was his exclusive property on the surface, no one dared to have any objections when Li Mu helped to improve her meals. Li Mu and Hu Lu stayed for a while. A bell rang outside. The Meizong sect summoned again. Li Mu left the dungeon and came to the Imperial Palace. Bai Xian's personal guard commander stood in front. He pointed at a few people and said, Little Eagle, Leopard 5. You guys come in. Li Mu, Leopard 5, and the others walked into the hall. They saw Bai Xian's happy face. There was a demon standing behind him. Its cultivation was not high, only at the 4th realm. Its body was a mountain cat. Bai Xian looked at the mountain cat and asked, I'll ask you again. Is this true? The mountain cat demon nodded solemnly. I don't dare to lie. They are hiding in my clan. Chapter 478. Bai Xian couldn't suppress the joy in his heart when he heard the news about Huan Ji. If he cultivated with Huan Ji and benefited from her pure heavenly fox bloodline, he could completely stabilize his cultivation that had been forcefully raised. There was even a possibility for him to go further. Li Mu looked calm on the surface, but he was more excited than Bai Xian in his heart. After finding Huan Ji, he only needed to find out where the elder of the sage sect was in seclusion to completely reverse the situation of Qianhu country, and take the first step to pacifying the demon country. Bai Xian looked at the lynx demon and asked, Why are they hiding in your clan? The lynx demon grinned and said proudly, Hu Jiu once saved our clan, so he doesn't suspect us at all. Li Mu sighed in his heart. Hu Jiu had never been right about people. He didn't know when he would learn to be more careful. Leopard 5 and the other demons showed a look of disdain. Betraying his savior was not a shame, but an honor. Even if he was a demon, they looked down on such a shameless person. Bai Xian said with satisfaction, You can leave now. I will reward you well. Thank you, my king. The lynx demon left with gratitude. Bai Xian murmured, What should I reward him? Eagle 7, why don't you let him be your subordinate for the time being? Li Mu was already the commander of Bai Xian's second guard. He thought for a while and said in a deep voice, "First Elder, I think we can't keep this demon." Bai Xian looked at him and asked, "Why?" Li Mu said, "First Elder, Hu Jiao is the savior of their clan. They betrayed their savior so easily. It shows that the Lynx demon clan is ungrateful and two-faced. This kind of demon is the easiest to buy. If they can betray Hu Jiao today, they can betray me and First Elder tomorrow. I really don't dare to keep him by my side." Bai Xian recalled Li Mu's words and his eyes gradually became deep. No one knew betrayal better than him. For people like them, there was nothing they couldn't do under the temptation of benefits, power, and strength. Bai Xian was such a person himself, but he didn't want to have such people around him. He hoped that the subordinates around him could be as loyal as Eagle 7, instead of being on guard against their betrayal and betrayal. He smirked and said, "The Mountain Cat clan is so despicable. Indeed, they cannot be entrusted with important tasks. I grew up with Junior Sister and we are like brothers. Betraying Junior Sister is the same as betraying me." He looked at a personal guard beside him. That personal guard had followed Bai Xian for more than 10 years and understood the meaning behind his gaze. He nodded lightly at him. Bai Xian then said, "Hu Da Ing Qi." Li Mu and a fifth realm fox demon stepped forward and said in unison, "Here." Bai Xian said in a deep voice, "I order you to lead your men to the Mountain Cat tribe and bring Junior Sister Huan Ji back." The two of them replied again, "Understood." After being promoted twice by Bai Xian, Li Mu was now the leader of the second personal guard team. As for Hu Da, he was Bai Xian's confidant. His cultivation had reached the peak of 5th realm. Before he left, Bai Xian seemed to have given him a powerful talisman. This operation was led by Hu Da. Li Mu's cultivation wasn't high, but he was deeply trusted by Bai Xian. He was able to participate because he followed behind Hu Da to take credit. Outside Thousand Fox Country on a flying ship, Hu Da let out a long sigh and said, "I hope the Mountain Cat clan can keep them." Li Mu also hoped, "May the heavens protect them. Please don't leave, Mountain Cat clan." Inside the cave, Hu Jiao looked at Huan Ji in confusion and asked, "Lord Huan Ji, we're safe here. Why do we have to leave?" Huan Ji explained, "I've recovered a little. If I continue to stay here, I might bring disaster to the Mountain Cat clan. Bai Xian sent so many people to find us. It's best not to stay in one place for too long." Hu Jiao nodded and said, "All right then." He walked out of the cave and said to the two Mountain Cat demons, "Sorry to disturb you these days." One of the Mountain Cat demons smiled and said, "Not at all. Lord Jiao once saved our clan. This is a chance for us to repay you." Hu Jiao said, "I'm here to tell you that we're leaving. That traitor is looking for us everywhere. If we continue to stay here, you'll be implicated." A trace of panic appeared in the Mountain Cat demon's eyes, but he quickly said firmly, "Lord Jiao, don't worry. No one knows you're here. You can stay here without worry. Otherwise, we don't know when we'll be able to repay you." The small Mountain Cat clan was actually so loyal. Hu Jiao was touched but still refused. "Remember, you've never seen us. No matter who asks, you have to say this." The Mountain Cat demon nodded and said, "I'll go inform the elder. Lord Jiao, you must tell the elder about this." Hu Jiao walked back into the cave and waited for the elder of the Mountain Cat clan to come. However, he didn't see the elder of the Mountain Cat clan. Instead, he felt the fluctuations of a formation outside the cave. Hu Jiao and Phantom Princess strode to the entrance of the cave and found that the cave was already covered by a formation. The Mountain Cat clan was standing outside the formation. Hu Jiao looked at them and asked, "What are you doing?" Phantom Princess took a deep breath and said, "Can't you see? They don't want us to leave." The elder of the Mountain Cat clan stood outside and looked at Phantom Princess and Hu Jiao. He smiled and said, "Lords, your injuries haven't healed yet. Why are you in such a hurry to leave?" Hu Jiao of course understood the meaning of the Mountain Cat elder's words. She was stunned and couldn't accept it. She said, "I once saved your clan. You actually betrayed me." The smile on the Mountain Cat elder's face gradually turned into mockery. He said lightly, "Lord Jiao, you're too naive. Don't forget that this is the Demon Kingdom. We don't follow the rules of humans. Elder Bai is looking for you everywhere. As long as we hand you over, Our mountain cat clan won't have to hide in this remote mountain. We can get rich rewards and move to the Thousand Fox City with abundant spiritual chi. How can I let you leave like this? Hu Jiao stared at him and said, You can't be so shameless as a demon. The mountain cat elder replied, Lord Jiao, don't be so naive in your next life. Hu Jiao didn't talk to him anymore. She began to attack the formation with all her might. After more than a month of pursuit and several life and death battles, she could only use less than 10% of her strength. She barely had the cultivation of the fourth realm. Phantom Princess was better than Hu Jiao, but she was also seriously injured. She didn't have time to heal and her magic treasures were all used up. She couldn't even deal with a fifth realm opponent now. The formation set up by the Mountain Cat clan wasn't strong. Whether it was Phantom Princess or Hu Jiao, they could easily break it at their peak. But now, they were helpless against this formation. After Hu Jiao realized that it was hopeless to break the formation, she gave up attacking and walked to Phantom Princess. After a moment of silence she said, Lord Phantom Princess, I'll explode my demon soul later and break this formation. You can take the chance to escape. With our strength, we can't avenge the Lord of Heaven, Little Snake, and Sixth Sister. Don't die for nothing. Leave the Demon Kingdom and find a safe place to cultivate slowly. Or go to the Great Zhou's divine capital and find that lecher, Li Mu. He's had his eyes on you for a long time. He'll take care of you. Phantom Princess said lightly, This isn't the first day you know me. Hu Jiao gritted her teeth and said, Lord Phantom Princess, staying alive is the most important thing. She had lost her father, brother, and all her followers. Moreover, she had no hope of revenge. In this boundless darkness, Phantom Princess calmed down. She stayed in the cave and didn't break the formation. She just waited quietly. Hu Jiao couldn't persuade her, so she stood quietly beside her and didn't say a word. It was obvious that she was prepared to face everything with her. Outside the cave, the faces of the entire mountain cat tribe were filled with excitement. I didn't expect that such a great merit would fall on our heads. This time, our mountain cat tribe can also turn the tables. Maybe this is our luck. The mountain cat elder looked at the excited tribesmen and said in a deep voice, Be careful. Watch them carefully. If you let them escape, what awaits you won't be the Grand Elder's reward. Instead, you'll be blamed. A mountain cat looked at the entrance of the cave and said, Elder, don't worry. They have already given up. The cat demons looked in the direction of the cave entrance. Indeed, they realized that the people inside the cave were no longer attacking. Although they were very powerful in the past, they were like foxes that had fallen from grace. Any Tom, Dick, or Harry could bully them. The Fey Nation, where strength reigned supreme, was that cruel. As the mountain cat tribe waited anxiously, a stream of light finally shot over from afar and landed in the valley. Dozens of figures jumped down from the flying boat. The mountain cat tribe quickly came forward. The mountain cat elder bowed and said, Greetings, lords. The rest of the mountain cat tribe also bowed. Huda went straight to the point and asked, Are they still here? The mountain cat elder pointed at the cave that was covered by the formation and said, Yes, we trapped them in the formation and waited for you to come. Huda patted him on the shoulder and said with a smile, Not bad. When we return, the Grand Elder will reward you. When the mountain cat tribe heard this, their eyes lit up. Huda walked in front of the formation and slapped out. The formation that Hu Jiao couldn't break made a sound like porcelain shattering and shattered. Then, Huda stood outside the cave and waited quietly. Soon, two figures walked out of the cave. Huda bowed to Illusion Princess and said, Lord Illusion Princess, come back with us. The Grand Elder has been looking for you for a long time. Illusion Princess said calmly, Promise me one thing and I'll go back with you. Otherwise, even if you bring me back, half of your people will be left behind. Huda completely believed Illusion Princess's words. Although she was seriously injured, if she wanted to resist, at least half of the people he brought this time would die. He might even have the risk of dying. If Illusion Princess was willing to cooperate, that would be great. Huda said without hesitation, Lord Illusion Princess, please say it. Illusion Princess glanced at the mountain cat tribe and said calmly, Cripple the mountain cat tribe's cultivation and erase their consciousness. Beat them back to their original forms. The mountain cat elder's expression changed drastically. He immediately said, Lord, don't listen to her. Huda didn't even think and said, Okay. The mountain cat elder panicked and said hurriedly, Lord, you can't do this. We provided her information. We've done a great service for the 1,000-Fox Nation. Huda said calmly, Do it. The weakest demon he brought this time was at the peak of the 4th realm. The mountain cat elder's cultivation was only at the 4th realm. After a few breaths, all the mountain cat demons, including the mountain cat elder, were captured. No. No. After a dozen screams, all the mountain cat tribe's cultivation was sucked away. Their cultivation foundation was crippled. Even their consciousness was erased. Meow. Meow meow. A dozen mountain cats with spots on their bodies ran away from the grass. The entire mountain cat tribe was beaten back to their original forms. They could no longer cultivate. Huda bowed to Illusion Princess again and said, Lord Illusion Princess, let's go. Hujo watched coldly as an old mountain cat disappeared into the grass. She looked at Illusion Princess. As long as Illusion Princess gave the order, he would give her a chance to escape even if he had to self-destruct his demon soul. Illusion Princess didn't say anything. She walked silently to the flying ship. Huda heaved a sigh of relief and said to his subordinates, Return to the 1,000-Fox Nation. The operation was unexpectedly smooth this time. Huda's subordinates were relieved. It seemed that Lord Illusion Princess knew that even if they fought to the death, they wouldn't be able to escape. That was why she gave up resisting. This was what they wanted. If they really fought her head-on, every one of them would be at risk of dying. The huge flying ship flew across the sky at high speed and headed toward the 1,000-Fox City. It was extremely quiet on the flying ship. Illusion Princess stood at the bow of the ship and looked into the distance. She didn't say anything. Hujo stood behind her. Her mood was extremely gloomy. At a certain moment, he suddenly felt something strange. Behind him, there was a gaze that swept over him many times. Hujo turned around and met another pair of eyes. It was a young man with an aquiline nose. His eyes were as sharp as an eagle's. His cultivation wasn't very high. He was only at the 4th realm. However, he stood side by side with Huda, who was at the 5th realm. Several 5th realm demons stood behind him. This meant that he had a high status beside Bai Xian. Hujo didn't like Bai Xian's people at all. She asked coldly, What are you looking at? Li Mu was looking at Illusion Princess. He didn't answer Hujo and looked away. With his understanding of Illusion Princess, she wouldn't surrender so easily. This time, she didn't resist at all. She must have other intentions. Could it be that she had no hope of revenge and wanted to assassinate Bai Xian before she died? She probably didn't know that Bai Xian's cultivation had been forcibly raised to the 6th realm by the elders of the Sage sect. Although his strength hadn't reached the normal 6th realm, he wasn't someone she could deal with now. Hujo felt that gaze again. She turned around and looked at the aquiline-nosed man. She found that the aquiline demon opposite her had an ordinary appearance. However, she inexplicably had a good impression of him. Because of this, Hujo started to doubt herself. When did her taste become so bad? How could she be attracted to this kind of trash? Chapter 479. 1,000-Fox Country. Imperial Palace. Bai Xian walked over and asked, Where is she? Li Mu and Huda were standing at the entrance of a palace. Huda pointed at the palace behind them and said, Inside. Bai Xian pushed open the door and entered. What welcomed him were 2 cold lights. He calmly reached out and grabbed Huan Ji's 2 short swords. He shook his head and said, Junior sister, we haven't seen each other for a long time. Is this how you treat your senior brother? Bah! Huan Ji spat and said coldly, I don't have a senior brother like you. Bai Xian used a bit of strength and took the 2 short swords from Huan Ji. Huan Ji looked at him and said in shock, You're already at the 6th level. Bai Xian smiled and said, I've said it before. If you follow the Sage sect, you'll get endless benefits. He walked into the room and sat on a chair. He said, You can't blame me for Master's current situation. You've disobeyed the orders of the Sage sect many times. The Sage sect has long wanted to kill Master. Even without me, the Sage sect would still get rid of him. Huan Ji looked at him coldly and said, You don't need to find excuses for yourself. Bai Xian sighed and said, I've already warned you not to go against the Sage sect. If you follow them, you'll get endless benefits. If you disobey them, you won't have a good ending. Unfortunately, you've never listened to me, Huanji said coldly. This is why you betrayed your master. Bai Xian sighed and said, this was the decision of the sage sect elders. I had no other choice. If I didn't cooperate with them, they would have gotten rid of me as well. He looked at Huanji and said without hesitation, Junior sister, the reason why the Huan family is like this is all because of you. It's your kindness that harmed master, harmed senior brother, and harmed yourself. You're a monster, but you're kind to humans. You even disobeyed the sage sect's orders. It's all because of you. Huanji stood in the room dejectedly. She didn't have any hope in her heart. At this point, she couldn't take back Thousand Fox Country and avenge her father. Killing Bai Xian before she died was her only wish. But now, this wish was mercilessly shattered. Bai Xian looked at her and said, Junior sister, you know that I had no choice. If you can forget the past, I will treat you well. I'm even willing to make you the Queen of Thousand Fox as long as you say the word. Huanji glared at Bai Xian and said word by word, Don't even think about it. Bai Xian didn't force her. He just stood up and walked to the door. I'll give you 3 days to think about it. After 3 days, I'll kill a prisoner in the dungeon every day. The first one will be Hu Jiu, the second one will be Huan Yun, and the third one will be Hu Lu. Huanji bit her lips, her nails digging into her flesh. Bai Xian pushed the door open. Li Mu looked at him and whispered, First Elder, you promised that you would leave Hu Lu to me. Bai Xian patted his shoulder and said, Don't worry. You have done a great service to Meizong. When the Sage Sect Elder comes out, I will ask him to help you raise your cultivation level. Li Mu cupped his fists excitedly and said, Thank you, First Elder. Bai Xian looked behind him and said, You don't have to do any other tasks these days. Watch her carefully. If she has any requests, try to satisfy her. If she does anything strange, report to me immediately. Li Mu said with a solemn expression, Yes, sir. When Huanji was locked up in a palace, Hu Jiu was also taken to the dungeon. Here, he saw many elders who were loyal to the Lord of Heaven. They were locked up in cells and tortured. They looked withered and weak, and their hearts were filled with sorrow. Until he saw Hu Lu in the next cell. The other elders were chained up with iron chains. Their clothes were ragged, and there were many traces of torture on their bodies. Hu Lu was clean and didn't look like he had suffered at all. He was even a little fatter than last time. Hu Lu saw Hu Jiu and said in surprise, You're finally here. Is Lord Huanji here too? Hu Jiu looked at him blankly and murmured, Lord Huanji and I are in Bai Xian's hands. Are you happy? Hu Lu couldn't hide the joy on his face. He ordered the 2 small demons guarding the door of his cell. You two, go out and buy me 5 roasted chickens, 10 spicy rabbit heads, and 2 jars of sweet wine. Hurry up. The 2 small demons left happily. The woman in the dungeon was Commander Eagle's woman. They didn't dare to neglect her. As the god of war of Thousand Fox Country, the new elder of Meizong sect, and the favorite of the first elder, Commander Eagle was in the limelight recently. Everyone who saw him would want to curry favor with him. Hu Jiu looked in the direction where the 2 small demons disappeared. Then she looked at Hu Lu and said in disbelief, What's going on? Hu Lu knew that Hu Jiu couldn't keep secrets, so she didn't want to tell him at all. He looked at Hu Jiu and asked directly, Where is Lord Huanji? Hu Jiu lowered her head and said, I was wrong. The damn Mountain Cat clan betrayed us. I shouldn't have saved them. Hu Lu finally confirmed the news and was overjoyed. That's great. Hu Jiu raised his head and looked at her. He seemed to realize something, and his face gradually showed extreme disappointment. He stared at Fox 6 and said in a trembling voice, I know. You betrayed us and surrendered to Bai Xian. That's why they treat you so well. Sister 6, you've disappointed me. I've misjudged you again. I've misjudged you every time. What's the use of my eyes? Hu Lu looked at him speechlessly and said, You don't have eyes anymore. Hu Jiu leaned against the wall of the cell. His soul dimmed a little. In such a desperate situation, any choice she made could not possibly be worse than the current situation. Then, her primordial spirit left her body. An illusory figure also floated out of Li Mu's body. Then, the two primordial spirits disappeared. The two little demons outside the hall seemed to have heard some movement inside. They turned around to take a look and vaguely saw two figures. Then, they relaxed and continued to slack off. Inside the hall, Li Mu and Phantom Princess were like statues, one standing and one sitting. In the Beast Emperor space, two illusory figures appeared at the same time. Phantom Princess turned around and looked at the person beside her. She could no longer remain calm and said in shock, "It's you." Her voice was filled with shock. After the shock, it was joy. Even she didn't know why, but the moment she saw this face, her heart immediately calmed down as if she had found someone to rely on. Li Mu smiled and asked, "Are you surprised? Are you surprised?" Phantom Princess floated in the air in a daze. What Li Mu gave her was more than just surprise and joy. This was simply coming back from the jaws of death. When she was lost in the endless desert and was about to die of thirst, she met an oasis. When she sank into the endless darkness, a ray of hope appeared in her eyes. Her lips moved as if she wanted to say something, but she suddenly looked down. On the lake below, there were ripples. Phantom Princess waved her hand at the lake and something flew out from the bottom of the lake. She held it in her hand. This was a spiritual jade. In the middle of the spiritual jade, there was a mark similar to a drop of blood. Li Mu looked at the spiritual jade in Phantom Princess' hand that contained a drop of her essence blood. He was completely stunned. At this moment, he and Phantom Princess experienced what a surprise was. Chapter 480. Li Mu had been thinking about Illusion Princess day and night. When he saw her again, he was so happy that he forgot that in order to not expose his identity, he threw the spiritual jade that contained Illusion Princess Essence blood into the lake in the Spirit Demon King's dimension. Now that he brought Illusion Princess Essence soul in, wasn't he walking right into a trap? Li Mu used the clear heart art to calm his heart. His face didn't change at all as he asked Illusion Princess, "What is this?" Illusion Princess looked at the spiritual jade in her hand and then looked at Li Mu's essence soul. She said, "I should be the one asking you this question. Why is this item in your hands?" "What in my hands?" Li Mu glanced at her and said, "You clearly took it out from the lake yourself. Isn't it just a spiritual jade? If you like it, I'll give it to you. Let's not talk about this anymore. I brought you here because I have something more important to talk about." Illusion Princess waved her hand and said, "Let's not rush other things. Tell me first, why is this spiritual jade in your hands?" Li Mu thought about it and said, "I think I got it from the Zheojiang Second Prince's palace. I remember that I got a lot of spiritual jades. This piece of spiritual jade was flawed, so I threw it into the lake. Let's not talk about this spiritual jade anymore. I didn't take such a big risk to talk to you about this." Illusion Princess put away the spiritual jade and asked, "Did you also reach the sixth realm? When did you learn the art of disguise?" Li Mu's lips moved, but he didn't know how to explain. Illusion Princess was probably the smartest fox he had ever seen. All of her questions hit the nail on the head and went straight to Li Mu's weakness. She wanted Li Mu to understand that not all foxes were like Xiao Bai. Li Mu looked at her speechlessly and asked, "Aren't you curious why I'm in Thousand Fox Country and why I brought you here?" Phantom Princess lightly said, "The unification of the Fey Kingdom is the most disadvantageous to the Great Zhou. Therefore, you must have come here to prevent the unification of the Fey Kingdom. The Tianlang Kingdom has sided with the Demon Dao. The Snake and Bear tribes have never allied with humans. You want to obtain the support of the Fox tribe to resist the Tianlang Kingdom. Am I right?" The topic had been cleverly changed by him. Li Mu crossed his arms and said, "Go on." Huan Ji continued, "The Great Zhou cannot interfere with the Shifter Nation's affairs. Once you enter the Shifter Nation, the various Shifter tribes will quickly join forces. Therefore, you can only divide the Shifter tribes from within. The best way is to support the Fox tribe, but the Fox tribe is currently under Bai Xian's control. Therefore, you want to help us regain control of the Thousand Fox Nation, thus slowing down the serious tribe's unification of the Shifter Nation and ending the Great Zhou's siege." She turned to Li Mu and said, "I'm done. It's your turn." Li Mu shrugged and said, "You're done. What else can I say?" Huan Ji was silent for a while, then asked, "What do you plan to do?" Including Bai Xian, the Bai family has 2 6th realm elders and 3 7th realm elders from the demon Dao. Unless you can invite at least 3 upper realm elders from the Great Zhou, it's impossible to succeed. Li Mu shook his head and said, "There's only 1 7th realm elder from the demon Dao here. Moreover, he was seriously injured when encircling your father. There's nothing to be afraid of. As long as I can find his location, I can make him even more injured and no longer be a threat." Huan Ji continued, "The wolf tribe's blue demon wolf king has already joined the demon sect. Once something happens to Bai Xian, he won't sit idly by." Li Mu said confidently, "I have my ways. As long as I don't let him join forces with the sage sect elder who has recovered from his injuries, I can still handle 1 blue demon wolf king. Not to mention the 8 demonic corpses. After setting up the formation, they could withstand a 7th realm elder. Even if they couldn't withstand it, Li Mu could release the law bell and cover the entire Qianhu nation. A mere blue demon wolf king could only watch from the outside. Of course, the premise was that he had to deal with the sage sect elder first. At the very least, he had to make him completely lose the ability to fight. Facing 2 7th realm elders and without a 7th realm elder controlling the law bell, Li Mu didn't know if the law bell could withstand it. Huan Ji looked at him and finally asked, "If the sage sect continues to send elders over, can you withstand it?" Li Mu sneered and said, "Of course I can't withstand it. However, I don't know if the Great Zhou Court and the Fu Lu School will be able to withstand it." The Diabolism had already sent 3 elders into the Yao Nation and severely injured the Heaven Lord of Illusions, breaking the balance of power in the Yao Nation. The Heaven Lord of Illusions was from the Diabolism's Meizong sect. To a certain extent, this was Meizong sect cleaning up their ranks. Cleaning up their ranks was one thing. Directly interfering in the internal affairs of the Yao Nation was another. After severely injuring the Heaven Lord of Illusions, they didn't directly help the Tianlang Nation and Qianhu Nation unify the Yao Nation. They only left 1 elder behind to act as a deterrent. The other 2 elders returned to the Sage sect. Not to mention whether the Sage sect could mobilize other 7th realm elders. Even if they could, the significance of them entering the Yao Nation again was different from the last time. The Diabolism's cleaning up of their ranks was none of others' business. However, if the Diabolism dared to openly help the Tianlang Nation or attack the Qianhu Nation that had already left the Diabolism, directly interfering in the internal affairs of the Yao Nation, the Great Zhou Court and the Fu Lu School would have a reason to act. Whether it was the Diabolism, the Orthodox sect, or the Imperial Court, none of them wanted to see such a thing happen. This was the bottom line and tacit understanding that all the forces had always abided by. Phantom Princess finally had no more questions. It was Li Mu's turn to ask, "I can help you take back the Qianhu Nation, help you fight against the Tianlang Nation and the Diabolism, and even help you unify the Yao Nation. However, you have to promise me that you will work with the Great Zhou Court to promote equal relations between the human race and the Yao Nation. You won't do anything that will endanger the Great Zhou." Phantom Princess looked into his eyes and said, "If you didn't trust me, you wouldn't have come here." She was indeed an extremely intelligent fox. Li Mu didn't beat around the bush with her. He said, "I need you and you need me. This is a win-win deal. Do you want to take it or not?" Phantom Princess reached out her hand to Li Mu. A smile appeared on Li Mu's face. He also reached out his hand and bumped it with hers. Smack! A crisp sound echoed above the lake. After a while, Phantom Princess stood by the lake and looked at the brand new Demon Empress base. She asked Li Mu, "Why don't you look for Huan Yun? He's stronger than me. He's more qualified to be the ruler of the Qianhu Nation." Li Mu waved his hand and said, "Why should I look for him? I'm not familiar with him." On the surface, Huan Yun was the son of the former Meizong sect's Grand Elder, Lord of Heaven Illusion. He was also a 6th realm expert. No matter how one looked at it, he was the most ideal partner for the Imperial Court. However, as Li Mu said, no matter how suitable Huan Yun was, he didn't know Phantom Princess as well as he did. To him, trust was more important than strength. Then, he realized the image he had set in front of Phantom Princess. He looked her up and down and said, "Besides, I helped you this time. Isn't that a great favor to you? Do you want to consider giving yourself to me?" "Okay." Phantom Princess said without hesitation, "After I kill Bai Xian and become the ruler of the Qianhu Nation, you can stay and be my empress." Li Mu was stunned for a moment. He coughed and said, You want to keep me in the small Qianhu nation? You should stay by my side. Phantom Princess seemed to think of something and said, That's true. Compared to the Empress of the Great Zhou, the Qianhu nation is indeed small. Li Mu said angrily, Watch your words. There's nothing between His Majesty and me. How can you insult? In order to avoid being discovered, Li Mu couldn't stay in the Demon Emperor space for long. After he and Phantom Princess had a simple conversation, his primordial spirit returned to his body. He stuck a soundproof talisman under the table so that he could communicate with Phantom Princess directly. In the palace, Phantom Princess sat by the table and played with the spiritual jade in her hand. She seemed to be thinking about something. Li Mu stood to the side and thought about how to find the elder of the sage sect. If he suddenly mentioned this, it would arouse Bai Xian's suspicion. However, if he delayed and waited until Bai Xian's injuries were almost healed, things might not develop as planned. While Li Mu was completely focused on this matter, Phantom Princess, who was sitting at the table, suddenly said, Little snake, help me massage my shoulders. Li Mu habitually walked behind her and put his hands on her shoulders. After a few gentle massages, his hands suddenly became stiff. Phantom Princess stood up and looked at his face. She sneered and said, Should I call you Little Snake or Li Mu? Chapter 481. Seeing the cold smile on her face, Li Mu knew that he wouldn't be able to get away this time. The sword in Enexian's hand, the spiritual jade in Illusion Princess's hand, and Li Mu's face-changing ability. If it was just one thing, Li Mu could find a reason to get away with it, but with all of these things combined, it wasn't something that could be solved with just a coincidence. Li Mu thought that after the little snake died, he wouldn't have to see Illusion Princess anymore and wouldn't have to worry about being exposed. However, he didn't expect that after the little snake and Illusion Princess's fate ended, Li Mu and Illusion Princess's fate began. He would meet her no matter where he went, and each time, his identity would be exposed. Li Mu tried to act dumb. He looked at Illusion Princess and asked, What did you just say? Illusion Princess asked, What were you doing just now? Li Mu explained, I was thinking about something just now, and I heard someone say that they were rubbing shoulders. I thought it was my Empress. Let me tell you, little fox. Although we're working together, you'd better show me some respect. Don't order me around like a servant. Illusion Princess said coldly. Continue acting. Li Mu asked, What did I act? Illusion Princess asked, Do you dare to swear? Li Mu didn't care. Swear what? Huanji said, Swear to the heavens that if you are lying, then you will be struck by lightning and your sparrow-ean soul will dissipate forever. Li Mu's expression became complicated. The first half of the sentence was fine, but the second half was too vicious. He had suffered so much in order to condense the sparrow shade all those years ago. Even if he was beaten to death, he would not joke about his lifelong happiness. He wanted to make Illusion Princess unconscious and wipe away her memories to solve the problem once and for all. However, her cultivation was higher than Li Mu's, so he couldn't do that. If he used force, he might permanently hurt her. In the end, Li Mu gave up on this idea. His voice changed as he sighed and said, Mistress Huanji, why are you doing this? Hearing the little snake's voice from Li Mu's mouth, Illusion Princess's body trembled. Her chest rose and fell more and more heavily. Fake, so all of this was fake. The little snake's loyalty was fake, so was his sacrifice. She was sad for nothing. Hu Jiubai cried for nothing. From start to finish, there was no little snake. The little snake was Li Mu. Then, Illusion Princess thought of something that made her even more ashamed. It was the stone statue of Li Mu that she once placed in her courtyard to vent her anger. She made the little snake look like Li Mu and ravaged him countless times. She made him massage his back and shoulders, and made him wash his feet. That was Li Mu. After knowing that she tortured the real Li Mu, Illusion Princess didn't feel any joy in her heart. Instead, she felt ashamed. She wasn't Li Mu's opponent. She could only use these little tricks to deceive herself and others. Moreover, it was in front of the person involved. Illusion Princess couldn't describe her current mood. Anger, happiness, shame, all kinds of emotions mixed together. Her heart was in a complete mess. Suddenly, she finally remembered something. She looked at Li Mu and questioned, "You were the one who leaked Hu Lu's information to the Great Zhou court. So you're the traitor." Li Mu was silent and didn't speak. Illusion Princess asked again, "Meizong's spy in the palace, you were the one who leaked the information." Li Mu continued to remain silent. Illusion Princess gritted her teeth. "Jiujiang County," Li Mu explained. "It wasn't me that time in Jiujiang County. It was Bai Xian. I just used that opportunity to fake my death and get away." Illusion Princess took a deep breath and calmed down after a long time. She said self-deprecatingly, "So that's how it is. You went undercover in Meizong to steal their information, for the Great Zhou court." Li Mu shook his head and said, "Not really. It's just that my Xiao Bai lacks the cultivation method after 5 tails. I came to Jiujiang County to look for that fox demon. Later, by chance, I was brought to Thousand Fox Country by you and joined Meizong." Illusion Princess looked at Li Mu and suddenly said, no wonder you always want to comprehend the heavenly book. It turns out that you've been scheming against me. You carried Hu Jiu's body back. You charged in every mission to win our trust, just like how you won Bai Xian's trust." At this point, all the mysteries in her heart had been solved. She finally looked at Li Mu and said, "So you said that you're a pervert. You like me and want me to be your woman. That's also a lie you made up to hide your identity and dispel my suspicions?" Li Mu said honestly, "I'm a pervert, but I didn't help you to make you owe me a favor and repay me with your body. It's because of the little snake. I owe you. That's my compensation to you." "Compensation? Do you think that's compensation?" Illusion Princess pointed at her chest and asked, "You can compensate for other things, but how can you compensate for this? Do you know how sad Hu Jiu was after the little snake died?" The scene that Li Mu was most worried about still happened. Money debts were easy to repay, but love debts were difficult to repay. Considering the identity of the little snake, Hu Jiu and Illusion Princess had sincere feelings for him. Even if the little snake was fake, their feelings were real. At this moment, the one standing in front of Illusion Princess was not Li Mu, but the little snake named Wu Yanzu. Illusion Princess's words were like a question to the little snake's soul. Li Mu fell into a deep silence. Illusion Princess finally laughed self-deprecatingly and said, "You're right. I was too naive. You're Li Mu, the most important official of the Great Zhou Empress. You're just a spy from the Great Zhou court. There was never a little snake. We've been touching ourselves all this time. I have to say that you're really good at acting. Everyone was fooled by you, including by Xian now." Li Mu sighed. In the depths of his heart, what he was afraid of was not the embarrassment when his identity was exposed, but the disappointment when Illusion Princess and the others found out the truth. The smile on Illusion Princess's face disappeared, and she became calm again. She said calmly, "Let's get down to business. Are you sure you can deal with that sage sect elder? Although he's injured, he's still a 7th realm cultivator. He's not someone a 6th realm cultivator can deal with." Li Mu heaved a sigh of relief and said, "It's hard to kill him, but it's enough to injure him heavily. As long as he doesn't join forces with that old wolf, Qianhu country will be safe." Illusion Princess nodded and said, "I understand. Leave this to me." Li Mu asked, "What will you do?" Illusion Princess took a deep breath and said, "Call Bai Xian over." Soon Bai Xian stepped into the room again and said in surprise, "Junior sister, you've thought it through?" Illusion Princess looked at him coldly and said, "If I don't agree, Huan Yun, Hu Lu, and Hu Jiu will die. Bai Xian, you're too despicable." Bai Xian just smiled and said, "Whether I'm despicable or not, as long as I can marry you, I don't care what methods I use." Illusion Princess was silent for a moment and said, "I can agree, but you have to agree to 3 conditions." Bai Xian was happy and immediately said, "Junior sister, please tell me." Illusion Princess said in a low voice, "First, you can only have me as your empress. You can't marry anyone else." Bai Xian agreed and said, "I can swear that I can only have you in my harem." Illusion Princess continued, "Second, I want you to release Huan Yun, Hu Lu, Hu Jiu, and the elders of Meizong sect." Bai Xian thought for a moment and said, "I can temporarily release Hu Jiu and Hu Lu, but senior brother Huan Yun's cultivation is too strong. I can't let him go. However, I can promise you that he won't be tortured in the dungeon. I'll treat him well every day. As for the other elders, I'll release them after our wedding. Is that okay? Illusion Princess was silent for a moment and nodded. Okay. Bai Xian smiled and asked, what's the third condition? Illusion Princess said, our wedding has to be lively. We have to invite all the demons in the city. It has to be done under the witness of the elders of Meizong's sect. We have to announce it to the demon country and let all the demons know. Bai Xian hesitated. He could agree to most of these things, but the elders of Meizong's sect were healing and he couldn't disturb them. Illusion Princess sneered and said, you're not even willing to do such a simple thing for me. How dare you say you like me? Bai Xian thought for a moment. He was the king of Qianhu country and the great elder of Meizong's sect. He thought that the elder would give him some face. He finally made a decision and said, I can agree to all of these. Then he looked at Illusion Princess again and said, but junior sister, I've shown enough sincerity. To show your sincerity, shouldn't you give me the heavenly book? Illusion Princess stretched out her hand and a page floated in her palm and slowly flew to Bai Xian. Bai Xian put away the heavenly book. He couldn't wait to go back and study it. He smiled and said, junior sister, you can move freely in this palace, but don't go out. I'll arrange our wedding as soon as possible. Then, he walked out of the door and hurriedly told Li Mu to look after Illusion Princess. Then, he left and couldn't wait to go back to the palace to study the heavenly book. Li Mu transmitted his voice and sighed. Although Bai Xian is sinister and despicable, he treats you quite well. Illusion Princess was already in his hands. If it was someone else, they would have already forced themselves on her and wouldn't agree to so many of her conditions. Illusion Princess sneered and said, he's not as good as you in every aspect. But there's one thing that you'll never be as good as him. Li Mu was not convinced and said, what is it? Illusion Princess's mouth twitched and said, he's more loyal than you. Li Mu couldn't refute this. Illusion Princess was still angry and wouldn't let go of any opportunity to attack him. It was best to keep a distance from him. He walked into the courtyard. Not long after, he saw two people bringing Hu Jiao and Hu Lu in. Hu Jiao quickly walked into the palace. When Hu Lu walked past Li Mu, she suddenly realized something and hugged his arm. Li Mu subconsciously wanted to pull his arm away, but she hugged him even tighter. Hu Lu stuck close to Li Mu and transmitted her voice. I'm your woman now. If you want to act like it. If you're suspected, all your efforts will be wasted. The two small monsters outside the palace looked at Li Mu with envy. Hu Jiao turned around and said coldly, cheating couple. He waved his hand and the whip in Huan Ji's hand flew out and hovered in the air. Although Huan Ji wanted to use this opportunity to vent her anger, her words were very reasonable. Normally, Huan Ji and Hu Lu wouldn't let Eagle 7 go. Bai Xian also thought so and was prepared to compensate Li Mu after this. If he didn't suffer any torture, Bai Xian might be suspicious. Thinking about this, Li Mu controlled the whip from afar and let it hit his body. Xiao. Xiao xiao. Pa pa pa. In the room, the sound of the whip cutting through the air and the sound of it hitting flesh could be heard. Huan Ji and Hu Lu were dumbfounded. How could someone torture themselves? Li Mu showed no mercy to him. He whipped him again and again. Soon, bloody scars appeared on his face and arms. Even the clothes on his body were torn to shreds, revealing his body that was covered in wounds. Seeing Li Mu's exposed body, Huan Ji and Hu Lu couldn't help but exclaim and covered their mouths. What kind of body was this? There wasn't a single piece of undamaged skin, and it was covered with crisscrossing wounds. In some places, the old wounds overlapped with the new ones, causing blood to gush out continuously. However, he didn't care at all, and continued to lash his own body. When Li Mu waved the whip from afar again, Huan Ji suddenly reached out and grabbed the whip. She slowly walked in front of Li Mu and touched the wounds on his body. She bit her lips and asked, "You? Why are you doing this? Aren't you afraid of death?" Li Mu allowed the blood to flow out from his wounds. A figure reclining on the dragon throne appeared in his mind. He smiled and said, "Of course it's for our empress." The gray-robed old man's expression was calm, but he was very satisfied with this show of extravagance. He was about to fly down under everyone's gaze. However, at this moment, a smile appeared in a certain eagle-like eyes on the platform. An untimely voice slowly sounded. "They're here, brother." The voice was not loud, but it was very sudden. All the powerhouses on the platform heard it clearly. Before they could find the source of the voice, there was a sudden change in the sky. 8 figures appeared out of thin air. Their bodies were filled with thick demonic chi and corpse chi. Even level. 5 demonic beasts were suffocated by this enormous aura. Among the 8 figures, 5 of them formed a circle and surrounded the old man. The other 3 streaks of light headed straight for the ground. The gray-robed old man's expression changed drastically. When he came to his senses, his voice was filled with endless rage. "Bai Xian, how dare you scheme against me?" Bai Xian stood there in a daze. He quickly thought of something and turned around. He stared at Huan Ji and gritted his teeth. "It's you." Huan Ji grabbed the collar of her phoenix robe and pulled it off, revealing a white robe and a white dress. Huan Ji looked at Bai Xian and said coldly, "You traitor. Today, I will avenge my father and the dead elder. You're courting death." Bai Xian was still standing there, unable to accept it. Elder Ancestor Bai was completely enraged and disappeared from the white jade chair. Bang! In the next moment, a dull sound came from the sky. Elder Ancestor Bai appeared again and looked at a demon corpse in front of him cautiously. At the same time, Welkin Wolf King also flew up. After observing the situation, he looked at another demon corpse. His eyes flashed. The last demonic corpse stood beside Huan Ji, motionless. Because there were still 3 sixth realm cultivators present, Li Mu could not guarantee Phantom Princess's safety. Hence, when he trapped the Sage Sect Elder, he only used 5 demon corpses. 8 demon corpses formed the 8 Baron Corpse Refining Array, which could defeat a 7th realm cultivator. With 3 less, he could only form the 5 Elements Array. Although it was weaker, it was not a big problem to deal with an injured 7th realm cultivator. Elder Ancestor Bai, Welkin Wolf King, and the 2 demon corpses were fighting. Bai Xian glanced at Huan Ji and stopped at Li Mu. He gritted his teeth and asked, "Why?" He had heard very clearly that the abrupt voice had come from Eagle 7. Li Mu's expression changed and returned to his original appearance. He looked at Bai Xian seriously and said, "Sorry, I'm a spy." If they were cultivators of the 6th realm, then so be it. However, they were all inanimate beings without intelligence. They were fearless and fearless, advancing forward courageously. The Welkin Wolf King and the Bai family's elder ancestor could not do that. When they fought, their momentum weakened, and they were always in a passive position. The Heavenly Wolf King clutched his arm. A few streaks of black smoke had already appeared on his face. His right arm had been accidentally scratched by the demon corpse. Until now, he had not been able to force the corpse poison out of his body. The corpse poison of this demon corpse was far stronger than that of ordinary zombies. He had to suppress the corpse poison while fighting this demon corpse. If this continued, even if he could win, he would have to pay a heavy price. Looking down, the elder ancestor Bai and the Sage Sect Elder did not seem optimistic. Even if he won, it would be meaningless. The Heavenly Wolf King's eyes flashed. At some point, he abandoned the demon corpse and turned into a ray of light, escaping into the distance. Seeing the Heavenly Wolf King escape, the elder ancestor Bai cursed the Wolf Clan's ancestors in his heart. He could barely deal with 1 demon corpse alone. If another one came, he would definitely lose. Fortunately, after the Heavenly Wolf King escaped, the demon corpse did not attack him. Instead, it went straight for the black fog where the Sage Sect Elder was. Li Mu did not want to let the Heavenly Wolf King go. However, it was difficult to hide the changes in Qianhu Nation. Whether the Heavenly Wolf King went back to report or not, the result would be the same. It was better to deal with the Sage Sect Elder as soon as possible and stabilize the situation in Qianhu Nation. As soon as Li Mu gave the order to the Spirit Corpse, Bai Xian's figure appeared in front of him again. Needless to say, a 6th realm cultivator was too difficult to deal with. Li Mu was about to take out a golden armor talisman when a white-robed figure appeared beside him. The Meizong and Bai family cultivators worked together to hold back the demon corpse. They did not have time to deal with Huan Ji. Huan Ji went to Li Mu's side. After a long time, the two of them fought side by side again. Bai Xian looked at them coldly and said word by word, "All of you will die today." Li Mu and Huan Ji looked at each other. Li Mu formed a seal with one hand and said, "Formation." Bai Xian suddenly felt his body stiffen. It was as if there was an invisible force that trapped him here. He quickly circulated his dermic powers and broke free of the bindings. However, he was still trapped for a moment. At this moment, a golden whip in Huan Ji's hand was already on his body. After withstanding the whip, a double image appeared outside Bai Xian's body. It was his primordial spirit. Huan Ji's whip directly knocked Bai Xian's primordial spirit out of his body. Bai Xian's expression changed. To be on the safe side, Li Mu followed behind her. He had already put away Bai Xian's corpse. Li Mu took out an item from his storage space and gave it to Phantom Princess. "This is for you." The tomes of arcane were recovered. Phantom Princess took the page from Li Mu and said, "Thank you." Li Mu didn't say anything else and focused all his attention on the Black Lotus Kingdom. The trembling Black Lotus Kingdom showed how intense the battle was. At a certain moment, an extremely angry voice came from the Black Lotus. "Sky Lord of Illusions, just you wait. The next time I descend, it will be the day you die." As soon as he said this, the Black Lotus trembled to the extreme. Li Mu's expression changed and he immediately protected Phantom Princess in his arms. At the same time, the law bell flew out from his ear and covered Li Mu and Phantom Princess. Boom! The trembling Black Lotus Kingdom suddenly exploded. Fragments flew everywhere, bringing with it a powerful spiritual power fluctuation. After the explosion, a huge pit with a radius of a few hundred feet appeared. Countless small hills were directly flattened. Li Mu hid in the law bell with Phantom Princess in his arms. Looking at the scene in front of him, he swallowed his saliva with lingering fear. If it weren't for the law bell, he and Phantom Princess would have been killed by the explosion of the Black Lotus Kingdom. Due to the explosion, a lotus petal streaked across the sky at an unbelievable speed and disappeared in the blink of an eye. The image of a handsome middle-aged man floated in the air and said regretfully, "He still got away." Li Mu put away the law bell and let go of Phantom Princess. She looked at the illusory figure and said emotionally, "Father?" The Sky Lord of Illusions looked at Phantom Princess lovingly and said, "I've made you suffer." Phantom Princess shook her head and said, "I didn't suffer at all." Li Mu glanced at her. Of course she didn't suffer at all because he was the one who suffered. He was the spy, the one who injured the elders of the Sage Sect, and the one who stopped the Celestial Wolf King and Elder Ancestor Bai. She just had to win. What was there to suffer? 2 hours later, in the Imperial Palace of the Thousand Fox Kingdom, the subordinates loyal to Bai Xian had been captured. Hu Lu and Hu Jiu rescued the trapped elders and easily stabilized the situation. As for the demons of the Thousand Fox Kingdom, it didn't make much of a difference to them who was the king. Compared to Bai Xian, they preferred Lord Phantom Princess. In the Imperial Palace, the Sky Lord of Illusion's voice floated, "I sent so many people to capture you. I didn't expect you to come to me yourself in the end." Li Mu said indifferently, "If you could solve the problem of the Yao Kingdom by yourselves, why would I come here?" The Sky Lord of Illusions looked at him and said, "Now that things have come to this, the enmity between us is written off.